Welcome, everyone, to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name's Jared Mello, and I'm the shepherd of our black sheep. I see Kat and Danielle and Bella are all here already, which is awesome. Kat is a live streamaholic, but you're anonymous here. Don't worry. All of the black sheep are anonymous when they come here. But today, the first thing we're going to go over is actually a Brian Etten short, because that's actually the most up-to-date information there is. And our buddy Brian Etten, he's been everywhere. He's been on Megyn Kelly. He was on Ashley Banfield yesterday. So we'll probably watch some Ashley Banfield because Brian Etten's video from today was 15 hours ago. That's a lifetime ago in true crime. His short is much more recent. And we'll do a long crime network video as well. Phil Bradley, mac and cheese, late as usual, or just on time, like Gandalf the Wizard? Which one is it? But overall, though, there's still not that many new developments here. They're saying there's multiple ransom notes that have a deadline. One of them was today for 5 p.m. I'm guessing Arizona time. The next one is for Monday. But as far as we know, nothing has been paid. And they're still not exactly sure about these suspects either. Ashley Banfield says one thing, the sheriff and Brian Etten say another. Which one is it? I don't know. We will have to see. Ella, how are you? Ella. Ellie. Rapper mac and cheese. So let's see first what our buddy Brian has to say in this short. This is the most up-to-date stuff here, by the way.
So I just got out of the press conference, a ton of new information on the Nancy Guthrie investigation. I'm about to head back over to her house, but I wanted to give you a quick update. The FBI says that in the ransom letter, there is a deadline of 5 p.m. today, that is the first deadline in the ransom letter, and the second deadline is for next Monday. They said that the FBI is not giving us a timeline on when the first ransom note came in, which I asked that question because it's important, because the FBI says that in the Nancy Guthrie ransom letter, they make some specific notes about facts related to Nancy Guthrie's iWatch and also to a floodlight on the property. And it would be important to know when the letters came in because the iWatch has been in the news and images of the house have been in the news, and the FBI acknowledged that that's true. So I was curious when the first letter came in. They're not giving us that information though. They actually have already made an arrest in terms of an impostor, someone who had an impostor ransom demand, which is interesting. They say they're taking this ransom letter.
And again, that's what I said yesterday, right? I wonder what's going to happen to people that do an imposter ransom note. So apparently that could be fraud involved, impeding of an investigation, attempted theft, all of that.
Seriously, and that any action on the ransom letter in terms of whether to communicate with someone or whether to pay someone is going to be up to the family. They've announced a $50,000 reward in the Nancy Guthrie case. They won't discuss whether there was forced entry into the house. They said that if you look back at my Twitter, I put the new timeline, but it's interesting. Nancy Guthrie took an Uber to her family's house on Saturday night. It sounds like they drove her home, the family, and then she went missing in the middle of the night.
So that car ride where they drove her home, I still don't think they know whether it was Savannah's sister, Anne, and her husband, or just one of them. I don't think they know the answer to that question yet.
There was a doorbell camera that detected a person on camera, but there is no video available. They have not identified a suspect or person of interest in the case. We're just not there yet, is what the sheriff said. The blood on the front porch was tested and came back to Nancy Guthrie. And I think that there's a little bit more.
And that's also news too. The fact it was the blood that was tested. As of yesterday, they just said DNA at her home was tested and confirmed as Nancy's. But now they're saying, no, it was the blood that was tested. The blood that was tested on the front step there.
But that pretty much sums up the headlines anyway. Sorry, my brain is mush. I just got out of there. But I'll keep you guys posted. I'm going to head back over to the house. Hey guys, so I just got out of the press conference.
So that's the brand spanking latest from our buddy Brian Etten.
Right now, we believe Nancy is still out there. We want her home. Our department, the Sheriff's Department, along with all of our partners at the FBI.
And this video by Law and Crime Network was released at pretty much the same time as that Brian Nitton short.
I've been working around the clock.
The sheriff says Savannah Guthrie's mom's abductor may have been on her property for roughly 45 minutes.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
The specific details about the alleged ransom notes unveiled for the first time by law enforcement. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
And that's another thing, 45 minutes on the scene. That's another new piece of information there. And before we begin, this is Chris Stewart on Law and Crime Network. I'm a fan of Chris Stewart. He has not let me down. I like him. So if you like this, you can also check out his channel as well.
Well, there has been a lot of speculation in this case as the search for Nancy Guthrie is now in its 5th day.
Do you have reason to believe that she's still out there alive, or are you fearful of the worst case scenario here, that she won't be found alive?
Well, I'm certainly fearful of that. I think we all are. But it is we operate from a position that until we know she's out there, she's alive, and we're going to continue thinking that way until we find her.
The Pima County Sheriff said in his Thursday.
And that's the right way to go. Until it's confirmed she's not alive, you have to act as if she is alive, and you have to take every necessary precaution as if she was alive. That's just the right thing to do.
News conference that he fears the worst, that Nancy Guthrie is no longer alive, but he is holding out hope that she will be brought home safely to her family. So let's run through the latest information that we just learned, including what the sheriff said about the evidence and reports of a suspect. I'm going to get more into the alleged ransom notes sent to media outlets in just a moment, but the FBI said the note that the Guthrie family responded to in their video overnight, posted to Savannah Guthrie's social media, had a deadline of 5 p.m. Thursday. Presumably that's Mountain Time. Now, there was a second deadline in the alleged ransom note, but the FBI won't say when that deadline is. The agent did say that.
So that's why I said Brian Nitton's video is the most up-to-date video. The second deadline is Monday.
It is uncommon in a kidnapping case to not have any other communication at this point. Now, this is video that was posted by News Nation showing drops of blood in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. And the sheriff confirmed in his news conference that the blood belongs to Nancy Guthrie. This is on the front steps of her home. The sheriff also said that they have sent other pieces of DNA to a lab, and those pieces of evidence are still being analyzed. The sheriff would not go into details. He would not say whether more blood was found inside the house or on the property. The sheriff also brought up reports that there was forced entry into the home, and he pushed back on that, but he didn't go deeper into how the suspect may have entered Nancy Guthrie's house.
Someone had mentioned there was forced entry.
Now, that's what we heard yesterday, right? The multiple people were saying forced entry. Ashley Banfield was one of them.
I have no clue where that comes from. We have been very consistent. We are not discussing that at all. Whether it's forced entry or not forced entry, that is something we're just not discussing. So I don't know where anybody got that information.
The last time Nancy Guthrie was seen was at her family's home Saturday night. The sheriff said that Nancy took an Uber to her family's house in Tucson, Arizona. It was about 5:30 in the evening Saturday night. She was then driven back to her house. Now, here's a timeline that the sheriff put up on a screen during this news conference, laying out the last known whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie. The sheriff says that Nancy's garage door opened at 9:48 in the evening, and that's when she's being brought back home after dinner at her family's home in Tucson. Her daughter, Annie, lives.
So let's study this here. This is important. The timeline. So January 31st, 2026, 5:32 p.m., Nancy travels to local family's home. 9:48 p.m., family drops Nancy off at home and garage door opens. 9:50 p.m., garage door closes. We got to presume that's when Anne, her other daughter, maybe her husband is with her, drops her off. But then February 1st, 2026, doorbell camera disconnects. So that is basically what? 4 hours later there. Or less than that even. Yeah, no, about 4 hours. Software detects person on camera, 2:12 a.m. Who is that person? No video available, no subscription. Interesting. 2:28 a.m. Pacemaker app shows disconnect from phone. 11:56 a.m. Family checks on Nancy. 12:03 p.m. 911 call to PCSD. 12:15 p.m. patrol arrives. So keep this in mind. This is important.
In Tucson. Then the garage door closes at 9:50, just a couple of minutes later. So at that point, you assume Nancy is going to bed. The next activity is incredibly key in this timeline. Law enforcement says the next part of this timeline is at 1:47 in the morning.
Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself. It just kind of loops, right, and covers up. That's what our analysis teams have told us. We're not done with that. We'll do all we can, but that's what it says. So it detects a person on camera. Could that be an animal? I imagine that's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video, but we're not giving up on that. 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone.
So you have this roughly 45-minute time frame of where a suspect or suspects may have been in Nancy's house. They say that reports of cameras being shattered in the home, though, are incorrect. Now, then the sheriff goes on and he says that family members checked on Nancy just before noon on Sunday when she didn't show up for church. And then at 12:03 in the afternoon, a 911 call was made. Now, Wednesday night, law enforcement returned to Nancy Guthrie's home. And this is video per News Nation of law enforcement actually returning and putting crime scene tape back up. They had already processed Nancy Guthrie's house, but the sheriff says now that more members of law enforcement are involved, specifically federal members of law enforcement, now they're helping with the case and they needed to go back. And
that is interesting. So to me, it seems like they cleared the home as not a crime scene too soon. Local law enforcement did. The federal law enforcement gets called in, the FBI, and they say, no, actually, no, we're going to yellow tape this thing, and no droning, no nothing, no coming in there like that. So again, what does that speak to? It speaks to them being a little bit hasty.
Look at more information. Now, he wouldn't say specifically what that would be. Now, the sheriff also confirmed that the car of Nancy's daughter, Annie, that has been seized. But the sheriff has passed that part up as just standard procedure of processing evidence. Now, the sheriff goes on to say that the reports that have been out there about a possible suspect, the term prime suspect has been out there, person of interest in this case. This is how the sheriff is responding to that.
Suspects. I know there's been a lot out there about suspects, and I want to be very clear. At this time, we have not identified a suspect or a person of interest in this case. We are working our best to do that. But to be clear, we have nobody of interest or any suspects that you would consider a prime suspect.
And again, that makes it weird that they impounded Anne's car, the other daughter, Savannah's sister. And this also definitely contradicts what Ashley Banfield's source tells her.
Just not there. We're not there yet.
Now, with that, the sheriff would not say whether they have ruled out anyone as a suspect in this case. So still staying very vague on that point. Now, media members also say that they saw members of law enforcement at Annie Guthrie's Tucson area home Wednesday night as well. And for the first time in a news conference, authorities addressed reports alleged ransom letters being sent to local media outlets in Arizona, as well as some larger outlets, most notably TMZ.
Next, regarding the ransom letter. We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media and then to national outlets. As with every lead, we are taking it seriously. We are in communication with the family. And while we advise and recommend from a law enforcement perspective, any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family. Thank you to those.
That is interesting. So ultimately, the family gets to say if they want to pay a ransom. Personally, I wouldn't even dream of paying a ransom unless you have proof of life. I wouldn't even dream of it. But I wasn't sure who makes that decision. Is it the family? Is it law enforcement? And again, I mean, what money is law enforcement going to pay with? Savannah Guthrie, she has the money, so she can do this. She can pay however much they're asking for. I don't know if we know how much they're asking for. For some reason, the number 50,000 comes to mind, but I'm not sure if that's what it is.
In the community that have called in tips. For anyone out there that may have information, no matter how small you think it may be, please report it. You can do so by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at tips.fbi.gov.
Now, just before this news conference started, TMZ put a video out about the alleged ransom letter that they say they were emailed that they turned over to the FBI. And they say that the FBI had asked them not to disclose certain details of that ransom letter. They also said that the letter gave a specific deadline, actually multiple deadlines, but one of them, in their words, was looming. Now, this alleged ransom letter had a demand for a large amount of money.
And so again, someone in the chat just said it right. The reward for this is 50,000. That is not the same amount of the ransom. As he just said, it's a large amount of Bitcoin. We don't know what the amount is. And depending on the value of Bitcoin, that amount will fluctuate. But 50,000 would seem kind of low if you're going to do all of this and only ask for 50,000.
Money to be paid in Bitcoin and to be sent to a Bitcoin address, which TMZ says they were able to confirm was a real Bitcoin address. But who sent it? At this point, we don't know. In the news conference, the FBI mentioned two details that the alleged letters included, and they're details that they are investigating. There's a mention in there of an Apple Watch and a floodlight. Now, in the emotional 4-minute video that was posted overnight on Savannah Guthrie's social media, where she's sitting there, obviously and understandably incredibly distraught. She has her sister Annie by her side, as well as her brother Cameron. In that message, you hear them talk about the possibility of artificial intelligence.
We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know.
So again, for people who don't know, that's the brother. That's the sister Anne, the other daughter of Nancy Guthrie. And she's the one who they think her husband, according to Ashley Banfield's source, might be involved. And if that's the case, there's got to be some tension here, right? Between Savannah and her sister Anne. I mean, like, because don't you think if her husband is in on it, Anne you might think is as well? But again, that's only if it's true. We don't know this is true.
Without a doubt that she is alive and that you have her.
So the FBI would not go into detail of whether there were specific images or voices that were included in this alleged ransom note that they're investigating. And they said they also did not craft the message that the Guthries put out last night. But in a surprising twist, investigators did say they arrested someone that they are labeling as an impostor who allegedly sent a fake ransom note. They say more information on this person is going to be released, but the FBI says that this person, the alleged ransom note or imposter note that they sent, this is not the note that TMZ allegedly received and those media outlets. So this is separate, and they do not believe this person is connected to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie at all. Just an individual who allegedly tried to take advantage of this family in their worst.
By the way, remember to like the video if you're here and subscribe to the channel, please, if you are not already. We go live almost every night around 10 p.m. Eastern, and we talk about true crime, current events, and also toxic relationship stuff too.
Moments. Now, the FBI also said that information about the Apple Watch, which was found reportedly next to Nancy's bed on a charger, that had been in the media already. And floodlights and anything related to those could be seen from the street where media have been parked for the last couple of days. So it's unclear whether those are the specific elements in these ransom notes that only someone who allegedly would have Nancy Guthrie or be involved in this would know about. And it's also important to note that these ransom notes were sent to the media outlets roughly 3 days after Nancy Guthrie was allegedly taken from her home. And that's odd, we have heard from members of law enforcement and experts on these kinds of situations. Authorities also mentioned, again, the medication that is so critical to Nancy Guthrie's health. You remember the sheriff previously said that if Nancy Guthrie didn't get this specific medicine within 24 hours, that it would be fatal. And we are well past that deadline. The FBI now says it's offering a $50,000 reward for information to find Nancy Guthrie and to arrest the people responsible. The FBI also said that information could be sent to 1-800-CALL-FBI and tips.fbi.gov. Here is more of what the sheriff and authorities had to say today at this news conference.
Before we get there, I do have some comments. First of all, I want to begin by offering our condolences to our partners at the state. Department of Public Safety's tragically lost 2 members last night in a helicopter crash up in northern Arizona. So if you would keep them in your prayers.
So I missed this. 2 people died?
Before we get there, I do have some comments. First of all, I want to begin by offering our condolences to our partners at the state. Department of Public Safety's tragically lost 2 members last night in a helicopter crash up in northern Arizona. So if you would keep them in your prayers, Colonel Glover and his team, I'm sure, would have greatly appreciated it. Along the same lines, I think you all saw last night, I'm trying to speak up, not yell, because apparently I talk soft. We saw last night the family, they just hurt, understandably so. And so I really want you to know this entire team here, those behind me, and our community are hurting with you. We really just want Mom back, okay? Right now, we believe Nancy is still out there. We want her home. Our department, the Sheriff's Department, along with all of our partners at the FBI, have been working around the clock. And we just want her home and find a way to get to the bottom of all of this, just as you do. But I have other partners out there who have stepped up, and you've probably noticed them in the last few days, if not the last few hours, and you're going to see more of that. Well, I made a decision to contact our PCRIT team, and those of you not local, that's our Pima Regional Critical Incident Team.
On a side note, those of you who were here a couple nights ago when we were going over the Koberger case, the father of one of the victims, I imagine he would probably make a good sheriff. I don't know if any of you remember who I'm talking about, but he has a very assertive and commanding demeanor. And I don't know what his job is, but he would probably make a good sheriff or someone in law enforcement, honestly.
It's made up of law enforcement officers from this entire valley. Pasquayaki Police Department, Tucson Police Department, Marana Police Department, Oro Valley Police Department, Pima College Police Department, Tucson International Police Department, Sarita Police Department. There's so many of them, and they are going to help us tremendously. And that's really done because we have so much in front of us still, and we're hoping that, you know, I know the FBI has committed a very large number of men and women to partner with us, work side by side with us. We go do an interview, they're going to be there with us. We're going to go look at some evidence or process evidence, they're going to be right there with us. We're sharing every piece of information, all the data we can to get this thing solved. And it's important that my partners in law enforcement know and understand their roles, because it is very large, complex investigation with a lot of moving parts. And we're at that phase now where sometimes we're waiting, right? We're waiting for analysis. We're waiting for lab reports. But even then, when they come back quickly, for example, some DNA, we rushed what we thought was the best target for DNA. We did a rush through and got some of that back. The results were minimal. I think you all know the blood on the porch. That was one we did. It came back to Nancy. That's what we know. But there's still more items that have been submitted. We just haven't got them back yet. But in the meantime, we're not just sitting on our haunches waiting. We do have a number of leads coming in, and that's why we brought in the FBI for one, but PCRIT as well, to be able to get out there and handle these leads as they come in as quickly and as expeditiously as we can. And every single lead is looked at.
But think of it like this, people, too. No one in this law enforcement department in Prima County, they're not expecting a massive case like this. And in fact, they should, in the perfect world, they'd all be perfectly prepared for it. But in reality, they're not all perfectly prepared for it. So here he is. What is he? He's in his 60s, maybe even early 70s. So they weren't expecting this, and so maybe they're kind of caught a little bit with the pants down here.
Every one of them. And so we're gearing up. You probably have some questions about what you've seen in the last couple of days. I'll gladly answer those at that time. But it really is about getting our partners out there. To be fair, when we went to that scene the first night, Saturday night, it was just us. Since then, the FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it as well? And that's what you've been seeing. But it is a very important case to not just me and my team, but this entire community, all of our law enforcement partners. Suspects. I know there's been a lot out there about suspects, and I want to be very clear. At this time, we have not identified a suspect or a person of interest in this case. We are working our best to do that. But to be clear, we have nobody of interest or any suspects that you would consider a prime suspect. It's just not there.
So again, in defense of Ashley Banfield and her source in law enforcement, he might just be saying this to protect the case, right? He thinks if we let it be known that they're a suspect, or the brother-in-law is a suspect, or excuse me, son-in-law is a suspect, maybe he thinks that's going to hurt the case. So that's in defense of Ashley Banfield. But then not so much in her defense would be, well, if that's true, the sheriff thinks it could hurt the case. Well, why are you sharing it? Yeah, we have a First Amendment right to free speech, but even so, the ultimate goal in all of this should be for Nancy to get home safely, regardless of how improbable that might be at this point.
We're not there yet. The timeline, I think we've got it on the board, do we not? This is a timeline that we have been able to develop with some of the things that we've had processed, various pieces of electronics that we've gathered. And you look at some of this, and I know you're going to say, well, why did it take you so long to get this to us, Sheriff? Well, because one thing, it's got to go out and be processed at different lab sites. And sometimes that stuff comes back to us, and like you, we have questions. And we say, wait a minute, what is this about? What about this? Could it be that? And so it's sent back or it's sent somewhere else. So, and that's happening with all of the things we see, that process, that review, and that questioning of, all right, what is it we're looking at? So I'll go over it with you. You can see it on the board there, but at about 5:32 p.m., these are approximate times. 5:32 p.m., Nancy travels to her local family's home for dinner and playing games with the family and just visiting. At 9:48 p.m., which is very consistent to what we were told by the family, that Nancy was dropped off at home. And we know that because we have a garage door open at approximately, I can't stress that enough, at approximately 9:48 p.m. At 9:50 p.m., that garage door closes, because that time we assume that Nancy's home and probably going to bed. Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself. It just kind of loops, right, and covers up. That's what our analysis teams have told us. We're not done with that. We'll do all we
So no subscription means it keeps on looping? That is interesting.
can, but that's what it says. So it detects a person on camera. Could that be an animal? I imagine that's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video. But we're not giving up on that. 2:28. Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone. And at 11:56 a.m., the family checks on Nancy and discovers her missing. And at 12:03 p.m., 911 is called in to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I believe it's about approximately 10 minutes later, 12 minutes later, our patrol teams arrive. They see the scene, and we start our response with our search and rescue teams and our detectives from homicide and various units. In fact, every unit here, I think somebody questioned, how come there's an ICAC member out here or this member? Everybody in our criminal investigations team is a part of this team and part of this investigative effort.
I think outside of family, this is a stone cold whodunit. You would think normally it's someone they know. Often you would look to family, right? So it wouldn't be surprising if the son-in-law is a suspect to me at all. That would not be surprising. Outside of that, though, it would be a whodunit.
I think with that, let me make sure. Now, I want to clarify some things that I may have already done, but yeah, I've gone over with the blood at the front door, the doorbell camera. It was removed. We know that, but we're not confirming that any cameras were smashed or destroyed around the house. I don't know where that came from, but that's something we're not confirming. The car, the car that was at the home, it's just standard investigative practices. It's part of the search warrant scene, court orders. We pull it out of there and do our scene processing with the vehicle. Uber, we did speak to a driver because Nancy, we learned, had been taken the Uber to the family residence, the daughter, for dinner. And we located that driver and spoke with them and got that information. The house, you guys got this, I think, conducting follow-up. I think you said somebody had mentioned that they saw a team out there again last night or yesterday, and that's just, again, what I was talking about before. Our partners wanted a chance to see it and examine things themselves, and more importantly, it's just we're constantly following up on things and go, hey, what about this? So we want to go back and check on some things.
I mean, hey, if there are psychics out there, tarot card readers, whatever, I'd be open to hearing what they have to say. In a case like this, can you afford to not listen? Can you afford to not leave any stone unturned?
I, oh, here's the other thing. Someone had mentioned there was forced entry. I have no clue where that comes from. We have been very consistent. We are not discussing that at all. Whether it's forced entry or not forced entry, that is something we're just not discussing. So I don't know where anybody got that information. I think I am about done with my piece of this. I'm going to bring up here Heath Yankee, and I think you know him if you haven't been here. John Edwards is the assistant agent in charge with the FBI here at the Tucson office. Heath Yankee is the special agent in charge for the state of Arizona out of Phoenix, and he will come up and speak.
Thank you, Sheriff. Hello, I'm Heath Yankee, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Phoenix division. First, I want to let the Guthrie family know that our hearts are heavy for them. After seeing your message last night, it is clear that you and your family are in pain. Please know that we are doing everything to bring your mother home. The FBI is now working this case jointly with the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and we're going to start today by announcing a $50,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie and or the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance. And this will be the missing persons with the reward that will be going out. The FBI has agents, analysts, and professional staff employees working day and night with our partners at the Sheriff's Department. We have deployed additional intelligence and agents from our Phoenix office. We have brought in our critical incident response group from Quantico, Virginia. Members from our cellular analysis survey team are here, and they continue to collect and process digital information. We are actively reviewing and analyzing information from all digital sources, which includes banks, social media companies, phone companies, and any other organizations where a digital footprint could have been captured. All this information provides data points and helps put the picture together. And we will be in the community continuing to conduct a thorough investigation with our partners.
The reason why it's important to listen to these people and the sheriff is, as far as information goes, it is going to be the most accurate information. They're going to tell you the truth. You're not going to hear lies from them. They might correct things, but they're not going to lie to you.
You heard about us out there last night. We will be back out there today. I would ask the media, give our investigators the space to do their jobs while they're out there. Next, regarding the ransom letter. We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media and then to national outlets. As with every lead, we are taking it seriously. We are in communication with the family. And while we advise and recommend from a law enforcement perspective, any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family. Thank you to those in the community that have called in tips. For anyone out there that may have information, no matter how small you think it may be, please report it. You can do so by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at tips.fbi.gov. My next message is to those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation. We will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions. We have made one arrest related to an impostor ransom demand, and a complaint will be presented to a magistrate judge later today. You will get more on that from the FBI and our U.S. Attorney's Office here in Arizona when it becomes available. To anyone that may be involved, do the right thing. This is an 84-year-old grandma. This is an 84-year-old grandma that needs vital medication for her well-being. You still have the time to do the right thing before this becomes a worse, much worse scenario for you. Please return Nancy home. Thank you.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by...
So again, this is going to be a massive manhunt, regardless of the status of Nancy Guthrie. So it's just going to be, I don't know what they expect from this. Not the brightest, I would say. Oh, there's our buddy Brian on Megyn Kelly.
Electronic devices. And I noticed that they walked in with a ring light.
The first part of the message is dedicated to how wonderful their mom is. Is there something strategic about that? None of the spouses appear in this video. We're going to see what we can glean from all of this in just a bit with 2 former FBI agents. But first, we're going to go to someone who's been on the ground in Arizona getting scoop after scoop, and that's News Nation's Brian Enton. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is a never-ending list of reasons that gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text
They should give me a piece of this, MK.
MK to the number 989898. Brian, welcome. Thank you for all the great reporting you've been doing on this case. What did you make of that video last night?
Well, a few things that I noticed. I'm sitting in the car, by the way, Megan, outside where the press conference is going to be right here at the sheriff's office.
So this is going to be the Shepherd of Black Sheep's highest endorsement. I trust Brian Enton more than I do anyone in terms of the investigative journalist world, the true crime world. As far as former law enforcement goes, I trust no one more than Maureen. So to me, those are the top. That's the top 2 team.
That's why I'm in the car. But so a few things I noticed. I was outside Annie Guthrie's house yesterday when federal agents arrived, the ICAC agents, which are the Internet Crimes Against Children agents, but they specialize in kidnappings and going through electronic devices. And I noticed that they walked in with a ring light and a small tripod for an iPhone, which I thought was strange. Like, why are they going in with a ring light? It all makes sense now. They were the ones who helped coordinate the video. They likely are the ones who helped come up with the script. Yeah, there's the video right there. That was them going in. So it was just kind of interesting. After I saw the video, I thought, okay, that makes sense now. That's why they had the ring light and the tripod. The other thing that I've learned is it is no coincidence that the video was just posted on Instagram. I have been told that there is an arrangement that has been made between FBI and Instagram, where behind the scenes, they're now able to monitor messages that are coming in, comments that are coming in, and they can, work with Instagram to go back and trace where these things are coming from.
Oh, that's fascinating. So they can trace messages between Meta that where these messages are coming from. That's fascinating.
In terms of if anyone now tries to reach out to Savannah saying, I'm the one who sent the note.
Mm-hmm. Brian, what did you make of her statement?
Although, I don't know if you want to tell people that though either, right? Because now they'll say, well, now I'm not going to reach out to them on Instagram.
There, Savannah's, where she said, we've heard the reports about a ransom letter. I mean, almost certainly the authorities have shown her the ransom letters that have come in, right? There have been 3 in total. And, we haven't had independent confirmation that they're identical, right? Like there could be, we don't know. In my head, I was kind of assuming it was all the same thing, but we actually don't know whether they're identical. But wouldn't you believe that Savannah had seen the ransom letters prior to now?
She has seen the ransom letters. I can confirm that. I heard that from the sheriff. And she saw, let's see, today's Thursday. So we started reporting about the ransom letters yesterday, and it was the night before. So I'm getting my days confused, but it was the night before the news went public about the ransom letters that the sheriff took one of the ransom letters to Savannah Guthrie directly and showed it to her when no one even knew the ransom letter existed yet. Remember TMZ? Oh. We didn't know. Yeah. It was the night before that. So they were very quiet about it, but they already had the ransom letter and they went and showed Savannah the ransom letter.
Wait, I'm trying to remember. I think the ransom letter hit on TMZ on Tuesday, right, which would mean Monday night. Yep. Savannah was shown the ransom letter, which makes this a little bit more interesting, because one of the things that seemed sketchy about the ransom letter was it took them a few days to get out their demand for millions of dollars. Like you've got a woman in custody and you're kind of sitting around waiting while the whole world is talking about this case. But if they stole her in the wee hours of Sunday morning and the very next day made this demand, maybe it's more credible. And we don't know whether the ransom letters are credible at all. We don't know whether she actually was kidnapped by somebody. We don't know whether she was, forgive me, but possibly killed in the house and they just got rid of the body. We don't know any of that, but we are keeping an open mind on the ransom letters because it certainly seems like Savannah and her siblings are.
Yeah, that's right. And you're right. I got my days confused. It was Tuesday that TMZ went public with their ransom letter. It was Monday night, I am told, that the sheriff went to Savannah Guthrie with the ransom letter. And I'm told it's the ransom letter that went to the local TV affiliate here in Tucson that was shown to Savannah. I don't know if they're all the same. The other thing that I thought was interesting, Megan, in the video is she talks about, there's ways to manipulate video and audio these days, like with AI, which also makes me wonder, did they send some kind of video with a voice sounding like Nancy? And now Savannah is saying, we need more. We need to know that this is actually real.
That's exactly. I had the same issue exactly. Like, why would you talk about how images and voices have been manipulated or are easy to manipulate unless someone had taken a shot? That's how it seemed to me. I don't know if you've spoken with Harvey Levin or any of the folks who have received the ransom notes, but when I hear them talk about them, like, I can't tell whether they believe them. It seems that they have some doubt, Brian. I don't know. There was Mary Coleman. She spoke with CNN yesterday, and she seemed like, keep an open mind on the ransom note. It really, here's a clip. It's SOT 6. Listen here.
A lot of it is information that only someone who is holding her for ransom would know. Some very sensitive information and things that people who weren't there when she was taken captive would know. One of the detectives did get back to.
So again, that leads credence to the fact that it's a real ransom note if it's things that only someone close to them would know. It also speaks to the fact that it might be someone that they know that have done this too. And again, why else would someone do this? What is their ultimate goal? If not some kind of money, right? What else would it be?
To us and ask us for some more information so that they can start searching for an IP address and things of that nature to try and figure out who or what people are responsible here. It also included a dollar amount, a deadline, and again, other specifics that only Guthrie's abductor might know. So that definitely raised some red flags. When we saw some of those details, it was clear after a couple of sentences that, this might not be a hoax.
So that was a much more ringing endorsement of the ransom note being real than I heard from Harvey Levin. He didn't seem to dismiss it, Brian, but he seemed a little bit more skeptical. So are you hearing more about what was in the ransom notes that would have led?
So what do you think, chap? One of the ransom notes is legit. Press 1 for that. 2, no, they're garbage. And people trying to exploit a tragedy.
For example, this anchor, Mary Coleman, to say, no, we believe it was clear from a couple of sentences, this might not be a hoax.
Yeah, I think they must think they might be real, or they wouldn't have had Savannah Guthrie make that video that came out last night. All I know about what is in the ransom notes is that there is specific information about what Nancy Guthrie was wearing, and also specific information about details from inside the house that apparently only someone would know who was inside the house. What I don't know is if any of that information is correct. Is it even the right outfit that she was wearing? I don't know.
Right.
And the sheriff, look, the sheriff.
And how would the family know what she was wearing?
Right. That's a good point. And yeah, unless they just, I don't know if they.
So the chat here thinks that it's BS. A lot of people think it's BS. Not everyone, but a lot of people.
They, go in the house when she goes to bed. Sometimes they know about her pajamas, or that's true. We don't know if the family would even know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Talk to me about what you saw yesterday, because you've been on scene. You're the one, the audience probably knows, but you're the one who found the droplets of blood still left outside of the front door, the one of the news media. Obviously, we believe the cops had this, but they turned the house back over to the family and they left it unguarded. And you went on the doorstep like a good old-fashioned shoe leather reporter and found the actual evidence, which was shocking to see. And then, Brian, they reassumed custody of the house yesterday.
Yeah, that was kind of shocking. I was just out there, I'd been out there for like 36 hours just waiting to see if anything happens. And the Guthries had hired private security to come out and just sit in the driveway. So we were used to seeing them. But then all of a sudden around 4:30, all of these deputies drive down the street in unmarked pickup trucks and in like a big evidence van. And then they all got out of, there were others that got out of a minivan. And at first I thought they were FBI, but I do think they were local sheriff's deputies. They were in just plain clothing. And all of a sudden, I got this video. They start putting the crime scene tape back up, and they all get out of the car, and we put our drone up right away because it's hard to really see what's going on because it's the house is kind of set back and there's all the cactuses, and we could see that they were searching the area around the house, but then also they were going in and out of the garage with evidence bags. Bringing things out, and it looked like we were trying to see through the windows. There was one room in the front of the house that they were definitely in the entire time, and they were there. Yeah, there's our shot of the.
This is your video,
Yeah.
by the way, as you're speaking. We're showing of the garage.
Yeah.
You got this with your drone. Keep
That's
going.
the garage, yeah. And so they were. I think they knew what they were after because it all seemed just so coordinated. Because they put the tape up, they were there for just 2 hours. Then they all packed up very quickly. They took the tape down, and they were gone.
And what happened in the back of the property? Same, like,
At the very least, it seems like some indecisiveness on law enforcement's part. I mean, you're going to clear something as a crime scene being her home, and then you're going to change your mind and say, nah, we're going to put up the yellow tape back. Interesting.
more searching back there? Because as you know, our mutual friend Ashley Banfield is reporting that a law enforcement source told her a bunch of things, including that the back door was wide open when law enforcement showed up, and that the Ring camera, it was a Nest camera, had been destroyed, both the one in the front and the one in the back. So there is some question about whether the intruder may have used the back door and what happened back there, because they were behind the house yesterday. No,
They were, yeah, they were behind the house, and they also had a canine that they had out there, sniffing around and going around the house. But it seemed like they were more focused inside the house. I mean, at first they did a search around the house, which you can see here. They went out into the brush, but then it seemed like most of the time, then they all went into the house.
And I wonder what they would do with that, right? Why don't they get some dogs that are good at smelling things, smell Nancy's clothes, and then see if there's any trail. See if there's any trail out. Where does it go? Into a car? Does it go out the back through the desert? I mean, which one?
what was the grid search you reported on yesterday?
So I was going back and forth between Nancy's house and Annie's house, which is about 10 minutes away, just trying to kind of keep an eye on both places. And when I was driving back to Nancy's house in her neighborhood, there was another search happening with about half a dozen deputies, where they were, lined up doing a grid search in a field near her house. So I don't know if they got
The way you do, like, forgive me, to find like a dead body potentially,
Right.
like where you're sort of shoulder to shoulder walking together.
Correct, or like a little piece of evidence. That way they don't miss anything. They all line up. So they were doing that. And then the night before, right before the sunset, there was this helicopter that came out, a sheriff's office helicopter that did a pass over the house. So at first I thought like, oh, maybe they were just coming to check on things. But then they were there for an hour, hovering very, very low with two deputies peering out the helicopter, looking down and just circling the house. So I think they're probably getting different tips coming in that they have to run out on and check on. Maybe they heard there was something in the field yesterday and that's why they were there. But they've definitely been very active.
We have this online video of Nancy Guthrie's house and the property around it, and it really does show the backyard. It's not that big. You can see there's brush. Can we put it on the screen, please? There's brush in the back of the house, but it's not like huge. This is just from Google Maps. So it's like, it wouldn't take that long to search that, Brian. In other words, like, it's very manageable to make sure, God forbid, she's not back there, or a weapon wouldn't be back there. It's not a ton to search. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. And that area, like I said, it's wooded with cactuses, but it's also kind of open. Like it wouldn't be terribly difficult to search. And they did a search the first day too. They had Border Patrol out here. They had the Border Patrol dogs. So it seems like they've been pretty thorough in terms of searching the land around the house.
Mm-hmm. So now, what happened at Annie Guthrie's house, where, by the way, she lives there with her husband, Tommaso, right?
Now, this is a bit interesting one, right? So what happened at Ann's house? Her husband's name is Tommaso. That's the person that Ashley Banfield is saying is the suspect. But let's see what they say.
Yeah.
And is Savannah staying with them?
She is. It's my understanding she is staying there. We haven't seen her come out, but we heard she was there, and it makes perfect sense because when I saw them go in with the ring light and the tripod, and then they recorded the video, I presume inside that house with Savannah. So I'm 99% sure she's there. And
Can you describe the house for us? Like what kind of house is it?
yeah, it's kind of a ranch style. I think they bought it a couple years ago for $650,000. It's a nice house. The neighborhood is similar to Nancy's neighborhood, where the houses all sit on maybe like an acre of land or a couple of acres. It's not right in town. It's out also in the foothills. And it's just kind of
what do they do for a living?
It's kind of like a normal
Annie
house.
and her husband.
Annie is a poet. Like I don't know that they have. I mean,
Annie is a poet. That's interesting. Her husband is the one that's in a band and does other things. Someone in the chat just mentioned, I'd be pretty pissed if this is a hoax. I highly doubt this is all a hoax, in particular because the medicine that she really needs has been left behind. I mean, I guess technically you could fake blood, but outside of that, no, I don't think it's a hoax.
To say it this way, but I don't know they have like real jobs. Annie's a poet. And Tomas is like in a band, and I think was a teacher. I was looking through records yesterday. I know he either worked or still works at a charter school. And so they have like normal cars. I think she has a Camry, and then there's an SUV. And so I saw Tomas and Annie together leaving the house the day before yesterday. So that would have been Tuesday. I didn't see Tomas at all yesterday. And none of my like friends or colleagues that were out there keeping an eye on the house saw him either. But we did see Annie outside the house yesterday, and we saw Savannah's brother there. They were coming and going. And the FBI was there the day before yesterday. And then yesterday, the only agents that I saw were those ICAC agents that were going in presumably to help make the video.
Yeah. Ashley's reporting that the authorities seized Annie's car the day before yesterday. Did you see two cars on property, or do you have any reason to, believe or disbelieve that particular piece of her reporting?
Yeah, I don't have any reason to disbelieve it, but I don't know that I saw one car outside, and there could be a car in the garage. No one got any video of a car being towed, which I think is kind of interesting, just because there's, how it is at these things. There's like always some camera outside. There's like these paparazzis that show up and freelance people who stay there all night. So I'm kind of surprised we never saw any video. I mean, that would be kind of a big deal for the car to be towed,
That's a good point. Well,
and again, what would be the reasoning behind impounding that car? Just because it was the last place that Nancy was known to be outside of the home? But what would they be looking for in the car? Just DNA? Signs of a struggle? But why would there be a struggle in that car? Right? So it's interesting to impound that car. We don't think that was the getaway car. Clearly not.
And we don't know whether it's true. Even Ashley doesn't know that it's true. She was told by one single senior law enforcement source that it was, and no one else has been able to match the reporting on that or the other piece about Annie's husband, Tomas, which also remains unconfirmed. And we don't know what's happening there. No reporting, right, at this point about any suspects or persons of interest.
Right. That's right.
Other than Ashley's.
Right. That's the only reporting I've heard. The latest from the sheriff is that there's no known suspect and no person of interest. Which back to what Ashley has said, I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon for them to be essentially lying to us. I mean, we've seen it happen again and again in other cases, but they seem pretty passionate when they say that they don't have a suspect.
So what did they do at Annie's house? Did they search Annie's house, or did they just go inside with camera equipment to help us presumably film that video?
Yeah, I didn't see them searching at all. I just saw them go in with the camera equipment, and then the day before, just kind of talking to them in the driveway. And the thing is, I'm pretty sure Savannah's staying there. It would make sense that they would be coming to the house frequently to give them updates, to check on them, to talk to them. So I don't think it's that unusual that the feds are coming in and out.
Yes. And just to be clear, over at the mom's house, Nancy's house, there were two searches yesterday, one in the afternoon and then another one in the evening that included the garage and the helicopter overhead.
So the one search earlier in the day was not actually at her house. It was close by in the field.
And it makes you wonder, what are they searching for? I mean, in a field, are they searching for a body? What else are they searching for in the house? Clues that the suspects left behind? I don't know. What do you think, chat?
Only search at her house was the one later at 4:30 where it was kind of the big hubbub where they shut everything down, put the crime scene tape up. So that was the only search at her actual house.
Two other quick questions. The Daily Mail today is reporting that Nancy Guthrie did not attend a church in person, and that she hadn't been for years since the COVID pandemic, that instead she'd been participating in the live stream into this church. And then they had one source at the church who told them that. The church, for the record, is not saying that on the record. They're not saying anything. They're saying we're not commenting. But they're saying there'd be no way for anybody to know who was participating in the live stream. It's not like a thing where you can see who's joining. People live stream in or they don't. Now, that would be a material change from the story that the sheriff told, which was that somebody at church noticed Nancy wasn't there. She was a religious churchgoer, and that person called the family out of concern. Have you heard anything on this either way?
So the church near her house that we went to, the pastor told my producer the same thing that the Daily Mail is reporting, that she switched to online after COVID and didn't come to church on Sundays. I just assumed maybe she also went to a different church. That was just my first assumption that maybe.
Well, the question to ask with this would be, can you see attendance via online? Just like we can see people in a live chat here, maybe when there's telechurch, there's a live chat. And if someone didn't see her in the chat or something along those lines, maybe they reached out. That's just a guess, though.
We had the wrong church, or that she had switched in the last couple of months, or maybe, sometimes people go to like a couple churches. Maybe she goes online to that one sometimes and likes a different one too, some Sundays. So I didn't read into it like the sheriff definitely had the wrong story. I just thought, gosh, maybe there's another church we don't know about.
Yep, that could be. Was yet another button we need to close. Last but not least, what are we expecting at the presser that happens today at 1 p.m. Eastern?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's been so unpredictable with this sheriff. The first couple of days, he was very open, and every time you would call or interview him, he would kind of give you a new little nugget. And then once the FBI got involved at the last press conference, he was much, much more guarded. So I'm not sure what to expect. I mean, he's obviously going to have to comment on the search yesterday, on Savannah's new video. The last time we've seen him on camera, he said that he believed that Nancy Guthrie is alive, which was kind of a big statement to make. So I'm interested to ask him about that.
That's a big one. So the sheriff thinks that Nancy Guthrie's alive. That's huge. Also, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already.
So honestly, I don't know.
Then he followed it up with, I have to believe that.
That's the other thing. He'll say,
I was like, all right.
He says these things and then he says, and then he'll say, well, that's what my gut tells me. And it's like, okay, so is this based on the investigation or is this based on what your gut is telling you? It's like kind of weird.
Yeah. I feel like we're 3, 2, 1 until the FBI takes over messaging entirely in this case. And maybe we'll see some of that today. We're T-minus half an hour or so until it starts. Brian, you're the best. Love your reporting. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much, Megan. I appreciate that.
Brian Enton, everybody, check out his YouTube feed because he keeps us on the edge of our seats. He's always walking, always walking. He covered Kohlberger like nobody else, and he's covered this case great as well. Coming up, we've got 2 former FBI agents to weigh in on that video and the latest developments. Let's talk about something we all want, real peace of mind. It might start with knowing your family is truly safe no matter what. That's where Simply Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam are with me now. Guys, great to see you. Jim, welcome back to you as well. So that video was quite something. I'll kick it off with you, Jim, since you've been our guide through this. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was predictable, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but we talked in the last few days, Megan, about this was going to be done. And it was going to be done under advisement of the FBI and the Sheriff's Department, perhaps even some attorneys of the Guthrie family. So it was well facilitated and put together in that regard. The visuals were important, and obviously the words were important. The goal was to humanize Mrs. Guthrie, to make sure that she is seen as a human being. I don't think they called her Nancy
This is what I was talking about last night, though. I said in that Instagram video, it's very important to humanize Nancy. So whether you call her by her name, Nancy, or also saying mother, 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 mom, mom, mom. Why? Because people have a mom. They want to humanize her. So I totally agree with what this guy is saying. I learned that from Silence of the Lambs, by the way.
Once, if I recall.
One time.
All right.
One time they said her name.
Everyone else, every other time was mom, mama, mommy, and that's good. That's healthy. I was glad to see that. I would have advised the victims in this case to do the same thing. It was all about her fragility, both physically, and her heart, certainly in that regard, and her overall health. And I'm glad they brought that up too. So the important part in that presentation was humanize her, number one, and then say, look, we're open to talk. We're open to discuss this matter. Give us some sort of communication. Now, what we don't know yet, Megan, is are one or more of these notes, these letters, these communications real, or are the ones we don't even know about that are real? And are there certain words or expressions that the kidnappers, again, we're assuming at this point, perhaps that's what it is, wanted them to put in there? I know in the DC sniper case, Chief Moose was asked to put the line out there, we have the ducks in a noose. I'm paraphrasing. There was an odd spelling of the word noose. So there's times that kidnappers, they have the control, they have the power. They want to put people out there saying something. I also want to know, and I'll leave it at this, I think, who was sitting next to Savannah? I'm not sure who the man was.
Her brother, Savannah's brother, Cameron, her older brother.
And he said something at the very end, not much. And he was wearing a baseball cap, but I couldn't make out what the logo was on the cap. I'm not sure if that's significant or not. It may be nothing. Maybe he always wears a baseball cap wherever he goes. But I would like to know if that is something that put a baseball cap on. This means you're willing to do this, that, or the other to try to.
Oh, interesting. What does that look like? Is it a Burger King symbol? No, it can't be that. But that's not something I even thought to think about. So that's good insight by this guy.
To get mom back. So there are just some very basic,
like some sort of signal.
Possibly speaking.
Can I ask you about this line? So Savannah, I mentioned at the top of the hour, it was extraordinary to witness. I mean, it was excruciating. But it was also jarring because, Savannah's manner, everything about her was just so different than what we normally see for obvious reasons. But I also did wonder, there's a reason, Jim, she didn't deviate from that script, right? I mean, like Savannah can absolutely look into camera and speak from the heart, especially on an issue like this. But they probably did not allow that, right? I mean, I would imagine the FBI is saying absolutely not.
Yeah, don't go off script. It may not have been written word for word, but certainly bullet points. I have no doubt they rehearsed it, and this is all a positive thing. They should have, and did a few different versions. And they no doubt, it was from the heart. She didn't have to fake that. Of course, we're aware of that nor her sister nor her brother.
This is actually really smart, Holly. I'm glad you said this. Did she ever even really go back home if the family had access to the house and it was one of them? They could have opened up the garage, disconnected her phone, just a thought. Yeah, I mean, is there proof she was even returned home? Just because the garage door opened and closed doesn't mean it was her. Maybe they did all this. I don't know. But again, then if that's the case, where did the blood come from? Interesting.
So, but they wanted to make sure the right intonation, the right information was put out there because they know, and I'm still going to assume Mrs. Guthrie's alive and who's ever holding her is in, constant contact with her. And I should add here too, I'm glad that they spoke to her mother. They spoke to their mother directly. Mom, if you can hear this, Mom, we want you to know we're thinking of you every day. We're praying for you. And so that's important too. So
why are you glad?
Well, first of all, if they allow Mrs. Guthrie to hear or see this, that will be important to her. It would give her something to keep pushing. And let me then just go right off from that to, I'm also glad they said they're willing to talk, but they need some sort of proof. And they even threw out there essentially with AI, there's ways of manipulating these type of pictures. So we want something to know our mother, our mama, in different terms is still alive. So they really covered a lot in that, I don't know, 3 minutes or so. And I think they got everything out there of importance. They were obviously guided well, and it was clearly from the heart that they put those words together.
So, Jonathan, what did you make of it? Did you like? There's a set off quite a debate on whether they're in negotiations with someone already, or they're begging to have a conversation with someone. Because they said, we're ready to talk, we're ready to listen. And then there was that line about how, well, images and voices can be manipulated, which kind of suggested that they'd already received an image of their mom from this potential kidnapper. What was your take on all that?
Well, it's interesting because being on this side of law enforcement now, out and looking in, as you know, and James would know, we're trying to investigate what the police are actually doing. We're not just looking at this and analyzing the crime. We're trying to analyze exactly what is being done, and that's a difficult thing. But what I try to do is I take all the possibilities, I put them on a whiteboard, and then I start looking in particular at certain aspects of it. And I try not to narrow it down to one specific thing. But I think in this case, what we can glean from this is that first,
Interesting. Sheep no more. Interesting. It seems like there's another guy, Sean Whalen, Lions Not Sheep, that they're like conservative folks, which would make sense that they're talking to Megyn Kelly.
they're taking that the possibility that these ransom letters and that this communication is real. So they're taking that seriously. And I think if this was a complete ruse, they might be able to track this pretty quick, or they would get a sense of whether or not it was real or not. But they're taking it seriously, and that's good. Seriously enough where they make a video with the family and put it out. So that leads me to believe that there's a potential that this is actually something that has validity. So then I start looking at statistics of how these things typically work out and who is normally involved. And we don't see a lot of these high profile ransoms and kidnappings anymore. They just doesn't happen that often. I think it has a lot to do with cameras, and it has a lot to do with the way that things occur inside the United States. We see these all the time in Mexico. So that's another point of this, is that they are right next to the border. They're very close to the border. So if there is any potential that someone along the way.
And again, if I'm in this position, that's probably what I would try to do. I would probably try to go to Mexico. I would have to have an idea of how I would smuggle her across the border too, but that's probably what I would do. But again, if this is you, I mean, what a low probability chance that this works out if what your goal here is money. I mean, what does that speak to? It speaks to desperation. It speaks to either desperation or people that are just not that smart, or there's something else going on.
Identified her for some reason. I don't think if somebody across the border was just wandering around in these different communities and picked one person at random to take them back over the border. It would be somebody that had to have met her, had an encounter with her, or studied for whatever reason who she is to go after her because she has or is connected to somebody that has money. So these are things that I'm starting to look at, and the potential for an abduction and a ransom is higher now than it was before the video. So I can't look at the video and say that it's real, but I can say that the abduction is real. But I can look at it and say the potential there, because of this video and the way that the law enforcement is acting, it's leading some credibility to that.
Jim, let me play you a soundbite from Savannah's sister, Annie. She spoke a little in the video, not as much as Savannah, but this line kind of jumped out at me as odd. And to your point about the brother wearing the baseball cap, and are there other clues in here? Like, is it possible they're saying things that they've been asked to say? Just tell me what you think of this. It's 2.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children.
That's a good sentence. Nancy is our mother. So they hit the two humanizing points.
She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Okay, so that
I mean, at the risk of sounding inappropriate, it sounded a lot like Ozzy. Mama, I'm coming home.
the parts, all of that sounded just like strange language to me, to be honest. It sounded just like not the way you're used to hearing people talk. And in particular, where she said, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. So am I reading too much into this, Jim?
Well, as a linguist, forensic linguist who compares language all the time from the...
So someone in the chat just asked, why do we need to make sure that they know she's human? Well, when the people who abducted her know more of her humanity, they get reminded of it, they become less likely to kill her. That's the reason why you do it. You're not doing it for others. You're doing it for the people that kidnapped her.
Manifesto to Ted Kaczynski and 1,000 other cases after that. Context is important. How does Annie normally speak or write? Now, of course, it wouldn't be as contrite and as serious as we have in this particular message right now. But does she tend to maybe wax poetic sometimes in certain conversations?
I guess so. She's a poet.
Well, okay, there you go. So that helps. And again, if this is from the heart, I genuinely support what she's saying. I can't imagine, again, there's a lot of supposition here. If there are kidnappers, number one, if they've already reached out, number two, if one of these letters is how they reached out that we know about, as opposed to a communication we don't know about, number three. So are there some instructions in there, including what are they wearing and how are they sitting? And in the order in which you sit will tell us you mean this, or it'll mean Friday instead of Saturday. It'll mean noon instead of midnight. I'm just throwing out there other cases of which I am familiar over the years in which clues were asked like that. The old days, you'd put a response in the classified ads of a newspaper. You're probably not going to see that today, but it could be something on Craigslist or something like that, where they have to put a response in there. And then this was the complimentary advisement to it. But all that aside, kidnap or not, if someone is holding her for some other reason, and we don't know what that would be, we talked about revenge motives our first day together, Megan, they'd still want to humanize her, as I said. So the sister Annie was very gracious and very loquacious in how she was pronouncing and saying what she said, clearly from the heart. And I don't think anyone in the BAU, behavioral analysis, would have any problem with those putting those words together in that regard.
So I'd like to think, what would Gideon from the BAU, for all of you Criminal Minds fans out there, what would Gideon say about this case? Be a good question, right? He'd probably think about the motives. He'd probably think about the why, who's involved, all of that.
I wasn't trying to indict her. I'm more interested in whether she's sending like a code, because just the way she talks is, maybe she's responding to a kidnapper's demand, like say it this way, or I don't know. I have no idea. It's just the way she phrases things sounds odd to me, but it could be the poet thing. Jonathan, let me ask you about the police activity back at the house yesterday, because that took us all by surprise. They released the house to the family, the police did, on Tuesday. Then here we are on Wednesday, and they're putting the crime scene tape back up around it. They searched the outside in the neighborhood, like right down the road from where this house is. And then they did search Nancy Guthrie's house again for another 2 hours, in the garage, backyard a little, and inside the house for the most part.
There's been this increasing rush by law enforcement to open up these scenes in recent years. I don't understand why that's the case. If you don't know where the person is, it could be an abduction, or something could have happened. They could have stashed her on the property. I don't understand why they do these things. I mean, there's still blood on the ground when Brian Enton was up there, and the scene was wide open. So I'm not real sure. I look at perhaps they got more information about something, and they decided to lock it down for a few more minutes, and then they opened it back up. So I don't know. These are law enforcement tactics that were not taught to me, and I don't understand from an evidence response team going in what type of reasoning they have for shutting down this sheriff.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Jonathan, is like if you were controlling this crime scene, you would have said no one's going back into that house until we have Nancy Guthrie, or at least until we're much further down on the investigation than we are.
Right, because once they have these letters and they start going down this other path of potential abduction, there may be other clues inside that house that they can gather.
Yeah.
And so I just would have,
That makes
I would have
sense.
held on.
So the federal law enforcement, they have higher standards a lot of times than the local law enforcement. And part of their thinking would be, oh my God, these local law enforcement, they screw up all these cases. So they would have never made the house not a crime scene so soon, more than likely. So there's always this kind of tension between federal law enforcement and local law enforcement. Maureen spoke to it the other day.
Onto that for a little bit longer. But this sheriff has made a couple of mistakes. I'm not putting him down, but he said that it was absolutely not an abduction from across the border. Well, he doesn't know that. So you can't, in law enforcement, you can't get ahead of the narrative, because the public, the general public, is a force multiplier that should be used. And in this case, when they make comments like that, they lose that forward momentum of potential eyes out there looking for things and saying, hey, this is interesting. I might know this. One other thing about Miss Guthrie is that I'd like to know if she took any trips recently. Did she go into Mexico? Did she go overseas anywhere where somebody could have befriended her? Has she met anybody in recent years or recent months even that anybody knows about, that she talked about meeting somebody? And lastly, is there anybody in that family? I'm still, as a hard investigator, I don't play the sympathy card. I look at this and I still look at people sitting next to her on the couch. I'm not saying these people, but as an investigator, I'm looking at everyone. And so
you have
the
right?
lingo that you're talking about, where was it told to her to say it that way? Is she a poet? From a law enforcement standpoint, I'm going to be looking at that. And if she starts going into poetry, I'm going to start asking the question of why are we having to make this so flowery at this point? This is a crisis situation. So as an investigator, I'm going to look at every single person that is anywhere around her and any signs of oddity from normal behavior that lead me to any type of clue that I can find.
Yeah, you get paid in law enforcement to be suspicious of everyone. So that's, literally your job. Jim, on that front, of course, we had Ashley Banfield's reporting, not matched by anybody since, that one senior law enforcement source, who she said is impeccable, told her that Annie's husband, Tomas, may be the prime suspect. The sheriff came out very quickly and dumped all over that report, saying it's irresponsible. We do not have a suspect. We do not have a person of interest. For whatever it's worth, he would say that almost certainly, even if her reporting were true. So we just don't know. But they did change the reporting yesterday, per the sheriff, on who was the last to see Nancy Guthrie. He had originally said that her kids dropped her off back at her house on Saturday night at 9:45 after a church event. And he made a point of telling the New York Times, and then everybody else ran with it, that actually it was Tomas, the husband of Annie Guthrie, who dropped her off, which was a change. Seems to me it may have been pointed, though with the sheriff, do we really ever know?
Can we back up a little bit, Megan, and I'll respond to that. But yesterday,
So this is an important question here. So basically, Megyn Kelly saying, well, Ashley Banfield says the son-in-law is a suspect, but the sheriff directly contradicted that. So she's asking these two guys, what do you make of that? Important question.
we ended my appearance on your show. One of the last things we discussed was they better go back. They better make sure they search the house completely, including all the property. We referred to the John Benet Ramsey case where the little girl was down in the basement. And Megan, about 2 to 3 hours later, they're researching the whole property with the crime tapes. Would they listen to your podcast or not? Who knows? But it's very possible that they just said, hey, we have to make sure that Mrs. Guthrie is nowhere there on the property itself. And it could be for other reasons. And also it's interesting with the sister, Annie and Savannah, sort of the abstract versus the pragmatic, with the brothers just chipping in a few words at the end there in terms of the poetry part to the more specific with Savannah. As far as the wording, yeah, now that's very interesting that Tommaso is the one now confirmed to have dropped off Mrs. Guthrie at the house that night. I think we're under the impression.
That's huge. We didn't know that. Tommaso is the one that is confirmed to have dropped off Nancy Guthrie at the house. That's pretty damn big.
That it was the daughter, Annie, who dropped off the mother. Now it's the son-in-law.
Yes.
Now, again, that doesn't put him in the suspect pool. Lots of husbands drop off their mothers-in-law.
Hot. Thank you so much for this. Cheaper than hanging out at a bar. That's a great tagline for Super Chats. I love that. Thank you so much.
After different functions or events. But
he had reportedly taken her out for dinner. Annie and he had taken her out for dinner.
Which, of course, happens all the time, all around the world. And that's the person. It's interesting, though, that the sheriff felt it was important to, add that information to the public and let everyone know about that. What exactly? And I heard a big debate yesterday that it's they knew the family, someone dropped them off, and the family told us they dropped them off, and the semantic, content and implications of that. Only because it's the sheriff. I have no problem with the sheriff. He apparently has 50 years in law enforcement, but maybe behind the mic is not his strongest suit in a high-profile case like that, like this. We saw that, quite frankly, in Brown University. A bunch of PhD people also didn't do a very good job on the dais. The investigators were doing good work.
Very true.
But those folks. So it gets tricky sometimes. It's one thing putting a statement out.
In the case of Saturday night, they did report earlier that the pacemaker stopped communicating with her Apple Watch at 2 a.m., which really would seem to put the time of abduction or removal of Nancy Guthrie from that home at 2, not at 9:45. Right. So it's interesting, and it is important who dropped her off, but it really does appear this crime happened at 2 a.m. And we actually went back and asked a couple of different cardiologists what would happen with the pacemaker. Would it still be communicating with any sort of a central database that her cardiologist could be seeing right now and telling the family she's still alive or not? And the answer is no. That normally it communicates with a device like an iPhone or an Apple Watch, and that.
So Nancy could Uber to their house if the family was going to drive her to the restaurant, but I'm not sure if the Uber went to the restaurant or family's house.
If the person with the pacemaker is removed out of range from that device, then the communication will stop. And it doesn't mean the person has died. It means you're out of range. So unfortunately, we don't think there's some secret option for them to keep tabs on whether Nancy's alive or not, thanks to that pacemaker. Right. It's just a point that had been bothering me all along. And now I think we've gotten to the bottom of it. Go ahead, Jimmy. You were going to say something?
No, just adding that those type of connections, that interconnectivity with Apple Watches and pacemakers can tell a lot sometimes after a person is recovered. We'll just leave it at that. But in this case, I'm not sure it has the value for the ongoing investigation, as you just stated.
Megan, one thing real quick,
Jonathan,
is that I think law enforcement needs to start doing this. Because this is not a typical practice, is if we know that that pacemaker went off at 2 a.m., they need to look at the distance somebody could have traveled from 2 a.m. to the time that she was reported missing. And they need to alert law enforcement in that circle so that they can start searching from that point in, because those are finite distances that we know. Instead, everybody rushes to the scene and they search out. If we change these tactics a little bit, I think we might be running into people who are doing nefarious things or finding bodies if they've been dumped a little bit easier.
That's a very good point. And we hope that they've done that, though we don't know.
It's not typical in law enforcement.
There was a different take on the messaging last night from Andy McCabe, formerly of the FBI deputy director. Listen to what he told CNN last night, SOT 7.
I feel like this is a fairly strong signal that they do not believe they've had a legitimate ransom demand yet. right? Because what you hear the family saying here is, we're ready to talk, reach out to us. We just want to know you have our mother. So that's not something that you would do if you were already in negotiations with someone that you actually thought had the victim.
Interesting. So they don't think it is a legitimate ransom, these people on CNN. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
So there's McCabe saying he thinks that those initial ransom notes may be nonsense, and that this was just a raw plea for whoever the kidnapper is to communicate with them. I thought that was an interesting take. It could be the case. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but it could also very much be the case that somebody killed Nancy Guthrie in the home and removed the body. Again, we talked about that yesterday, Jim. Jonathan, what do you think of that theory?
Yeah, well, first of all, Andy McCabe is totally opposite of what I'm feeling, but his investigator, I was still listening to what he has to say, but I think that if that video is out there, it's probably they're looking at that pretty seriously. But yeah, a lot of these people that attack will remove the body, especially if it's a family member, or they'll try to dispose of it and get rid of it in some way, shape, or form, so that they can destroy any evidence of them being there. And in the case of a lot of these kidnappings, especially the ones that you see in modern time, like down in Mexico, for instance, those people are killed very quickly. But the ransom procedure continues on. And that's what we typically find nowadays.
So in Mexico, they kill them quickly, but the ransom procedure continues because they think they're alive, I guess. But why would they ever just kill her for what? Kill her for what? I mean, what would be the motive for this? I mean, tell me. Unless he's a Danny Troyer. Danny Troyer is someone who is sexually attracted to the elderly, and this is what he would do. He was a serial killer that would essay and murder them. So outside of that, what could this be, if not financially motivated? I'm open to any suggestions.
Exactly. So that could be, unfortunately, one of the things that law enforcement has to consider. We should know more in just a short time. We will have a full report on what they say at this press conference. Gentlemen, thank you both so much.
You got it.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Megan.
Let's be honest. America can still be a dangerous place, and you cannot afford to wait for help when you need it. Sure, you could use a firearm, but in today's America, defending yourself with deadly force can have legal consequences.
All right. That's enough Megan for now. Oh, new video, 1 hour old. Love
Hey
it.
guys, thanks so much for checking out my show. I really, really appreciate
This dropped while I was live, so this is brand spanking new.
it. Please click to subscribe. Appreciate all of your support. I am still in Tucson, obviously, outside Nancy Guthrie's house. She is still missing, unfortunately. It's just a tragic story. We learned so much more today. There was this update from the sheriff and the FBI, and I didn't think we were going to get very many new details, but we actually ended up getting quite a bit. And I'm going to go through everything new with you guys in a second. One of the biggest things was we learned more about these ransom letters. We learned that there were deadlines in the ransom letters, too, one of which was 5 p.m. today, according to the FBI, which would have been 45 minutes ago local time when I'm shooting this video right now. And right around the time of the first deadline, 5 p.m., Nancy Guthrie's son, Cameron, posted a new video to Savannah Guthrie's Instagram with a message to the potential captors of Nancy Guthrie. So I want to play that video for you.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you.
So this is the fighter pilot. What does that hat say? Saguaro? What does that mean? Saguaro? Looks like some cactus and an image on his hat.
We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Obviously, just heartbreaking what that family is going through. And I'm going to get to the latest details on the ransom letters in a second and everything that I've learned about the ransom letters. But first, I want to go through a new timeline that authorities released a timeline around the time that Nancy Guthrie went missing. And let me just go through this with you. January 31st, which would have been Saturday, 5:32 p.m., Nancy travels to local family's home, who we presume is, sorry, people just went running by. I just want to make sure. Sorry, try to keep an eye on everything outside the house. The timeline starts on January 31st, which would have been Saturday. Nancy travels to local family's home, who we believe is Annie Guthrie, Nancy's daughter. And we found out today through the sheriff that she actually took an Uber, and they've already interviewed that Uber driver. So she Ubered here from her house to her daughter.
So this is the same timeline that we saw on Law and Crime Network.
Annie's house, which is just about 10 minutes away. It's not very far at all. So she goes there at 5:32. At 9:48, the family drops Nancy off at home and the garage door opens. So she comes back here to the house. And then at 9:50, the garage door closes. And I'm assuming she has a smart garage door. That must be how they got the exact times on that. So now fast forward to February 1st, which should have been Sunday early in the morning, 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. 2:12 a.m., software detects person on camera, but no video available, no subscription. So the way the sheriff explained it is the camera detected someone on it, and that was recorded, and they were able to find that log. But because there was no subscription service for the doorbell cameras, they didn't record to a cloud. So there's no video of the person who came to the house and apparently disconnected the camera. So 2:12 a.m. software detects person on camera. 2:28 a.m. pacemaker app shows disconnect from iPhone. So at 2:28 a.m. is when her pacemaker got too far away from the iPhone to remain connected. So that's apparently the time that she was abducted or left the house. 11:56 a.m. the family checks on Nancy. 12:03 p.m. 911 call. There's a 911 call to the sheriff's office, and then at 12:15 p.m. The patrol arrives. So that's the latest timeline. Let me go through everything else. I took some notes here of what happened in the press conference. So the blood on the porch, you guys remember we showed you the video of the blood on the porch right by the front door. That blood was tested according to the sheriff and came back connected to Nancy Guthrie. I asked if there was more blood in the house, and the sheriff said they continue to wait on test results from everything that was inside the house. He says at this time they have not identified a suspect or person of interest in the Nancy Guthrie case. He said, we're just not there. We're not there yet. And then at another point during the press conference said that basically everybody is a suspect right now. And gave examples, just like we're looking at everybody right now. We're not ruling anything out.
On a side note, Brian Etten has a baby face for 40. Maybe it's just the non-facial hair.
Sheriff says that they won't discuss whether there was forced entry into the house, and there were some reports earlier, remember, about forced entry, but he didn't want to discuss that today. The FBI has now announced a $50,000 reward in the Nancy Guthrie case, and they say that the FBI says that they're taking the ransom letter seriously, and that any action based on the ransom letter will be decided by the family. So in terms of whether to pay the ransom, whether to get in touch with the alleged abductors, the family's going to have to decide that. They actually made one arrest for an impostor. Someone else was demanding ransom, and it was just a fake case, some jerk trying to take advantage of the family out of that person's in Los Angeles. They made an arrest, and that person's now facing federal charges. And in terms of the ransom letters, so there were 3 that I know of. One went to TMZ, and then 2 went to local TV stations here. And in terms of what's in the letters, we learned that there was a couple of things, what the FBI called facts. Something to do with Nancy Guthrie's iWatch, and then something to do with a floodlight on the house. The question is, though, did they just find these things out after the fact by watching the news and social media? I asked the FBI special agent in charge about that. When did the first ransom note arrive? And the reason I ask is because the Apple Watch has been in the news and on social media, and you could see like floodlights on video. So was it before those things were out in the world?
I don't have the specific.
Look at that. They got no chairs for the people to ask questions.
Time frame as I sit here today of what time it came in, but that you are right. Anyone could see a floodlight hanging down, could have seen some of those things. The watch has been talked about, so that timing is tricky, but that's why we're taking it serious no matter what, and following the leads on that.
Also kind of interesting, the sheriff was later on News Nation and said that he didn't even know about that video that Savannah Guthrie made yesterday until his wife told him about it, which I thought was kind of interesting that he wasn't in the loop on that, because the FBI made very clear that they were in the loop, that they were actually at the house helping to film the video and giving suggestions to Savannah and her family about what they should say. So it's kind of interesting. It seems like the FBI is taking more hold of the investigation. I asked about that specifically at the press conference, and the sheriff said, "Oh, no, we're all working together." But it just stood out to me that the sheriff has now said that he didn't even know that Savannah Guthrie made a video until after the fact. I'm joined now by Maureen O'Connell, a retired FBI agent who we've been talking to pretty much every day as
Danielle, you hear it?
things have developed, and there's been a lot more developments today just within the last couple of hours. First of all, I want to start with the ransom notes, Maureen, because we've learned a lot more. And everybody's focusing on these deadlines. The special agent said that there was a 5 p.m. deadline today, and then said that there was a deadline on Monday. So I guess there's 2 deadlines. What do you think that means?
And these deadlines are set by the author of the ransom note, correct?
That's right. That's right. They're in the, from what I understand, they're in the note.
All right, that's weird. It's weird to have 2 deadlines, because the whole purpose of a deadline is to have one date when it must be done. However, I think people understand how difficult it is to get your hands on a whole bunch of money, especially if you're talking millions of dollars in crypto, and people don't always know, you know, and just for those that don't know, crypto is just the umbrella term for all this type of cryptocurrency, which would include Bitcoin, which is what they were asking for. I thought it was very strange also.
So just folks, so you know, the Shepherd of Black Sheep gives his highest endorsement to this tandem. Maureen, former FBI agent, Brian Etten, News Nation anchor, and he has his own channel here, of course.
So, but I guess maybe they were waiting for them to come out and say today, hey, we're willing to talk to you and everything, like they said last night, but we need more information. You know, it sounded like the family wanted to open the lines of communication, but I thought a better job could have been done today with them trying to open those lines of communication, because I think they're really trying to find out who this person is. And I'm a little bit surprised that they don't already know who the sender is. I know they're trying to run this to ground. They should be able to get the IP address. They should be able to identify the wallet, the Bitcoin wallet. But after that, it can get a little bit dicey and it can become difficult. I wish we had Jeff on, but I actually talked to Jeff this morning. So I thought, I don't know, there's something weird about this. There's something weird, almost inauthentic about this whole line of inquiry. I got more questions than answers than I've got.
All right, so Maureen's starting to think that maybe these ransom notes aren't credible, and maybe they're just another version of a predator trying to exploit the situation. Would that be beyond the realm of possibility? No, that's not beyond the realm of possibility at all. And they might think, well, we'll get it sent to Bitcoin, but then we'll transfer it to privacy projects like Monero so that it can't be tracked, or we'll send it to several wallets. And hey, if they get money sent via Bitcoin, it's possible that they can get the money that way because they can do something where it wouldn't be able to be tracked.
Some ideas, but I'm not going to say anything yet.
No, I understand. I'm a little skeptical of and it seems like the FBI is too, of the ransom notes. You know, they reference a Apple Watch and they reference a floodlight on the house. And I asked the question in the press conference, well, when exactly did they receive the ransom note? Because I think that's important, because we've been talking about the Apple Watch on TV since almost the beginning, and we've been showing every angle of the house since almost the beginning where you could have seen a floodlight. So how do we know that this person who wrote the note didn't just, you know, gather this info from TV or social media? Exactly.
And any kidnap that we've worked, we get the ransom note almost contemporaneous to the crime. That's a good indicator a ransom note contemporaneous with the crime, with information not known to other people. That's what we're looking for. It almost seems as if this is an afterthought. Like I thought, a lot of these were going to be hoax ransom letters. And it looks like they arrested one guy today who did put up a hoax ransom letter. And so he's in a world of hurt that he doesn't even realize yet. He's going away.
Yeah, and he's from LA. He's from near you, this guy.
Shocker.
Yeah. The video and I don't think I've spoken to you since the video came out, and it's so heart-wrenching. I mean, I've been on the ground here so focused on every little piece of the investigation that sometimes I lose track of the emotional part of it. And then when I saw Savannah's video, it just all hit home again.
So someone in the chat can maybe confirm this for me, but did Savannah interview Epstein victims on her show in the morning? If so, that could be interesting, but I'm not sure if she did.
Just how sad this is for her and her family. And I again think about my mom, and it's awful to watch. And the FBI confirmed today that they were there with them when they made the video and that they offered suggestions.
That explains the ring camera. Yep.
Right.
Or
Seeing
the
them bring the ring camera. Right. Exactly. The ring light. But if they thought that this was just a bogus ransom note and they actually had other avenues that they were pursuing, would they have really put the family through all of that?
Well, you don't know if it's bogus until you get to the other side of the road, until you get all the way down the road, to be honest, until you run it to ground. Putting the family through that, if the goal is to draw someone out, then yes, it's worth it. Is it hard? Yes, it's all hard. Law enforcement is hard, and it's messy, and it's not just like a nice clean path that you can skip down. There's a lot of twists and turns, and you got to go with them, and you got to pivot all the time, and it's oftentimes very uncomfortable, but you know what you have to do, and you got to get her done, as we say. So I'm not saying that they think it's a hoax, and I know that I could tell by watching Savannah. It was just one of the most authentic responses anyone would have to someone that they really, really loved a lot. It broke my heart to watch her. Her brother seemed very stoic, but very upset. It's just very difficult to watch.
So it could be telling here what Maureen didn't say. So she said, Savannah, very believable that something terrible just happened. The brother's stoic, but she didn't mention Anne. And sometimes what you don't say can speak very loudly.
But it's why we do this work. This is very important work. And by us, I mean law enforcement, even though I'm out of law enforcement. It's why law enforcement is so motivated to do this type of work.
The other thing about Savannah is she's very, very smart. She's a lawyer. She's, at the highest level of her career. She works for Court TV. She's covered a ton of criminal cases. So I don't think she would have gone out there and put herself out there like that. And she obviously saw reporting about other theories. I don't think she would have put herself out there like that if she didn't believe that there was a chance that this letter is real.
I would agree with you. And I think that that's important. The thing I want to talk about, though, is the Apple Watch and stuff, and the heart monitor or the pacemaker. I mean, honestly, if my mom's 85 years old, and I can tell you that Savannah, just seeing her with her mom with the photos, she's the only sibling we have, video of interacting with the mom. And to see her with the mom like that, I know that she loves her mom the way I loved mine. And so her mom's 84 years old. She lives alone. She's got a pacemaker, and she has the Apple Watch. And I think she's got the Apple Watch because that Apple Watch will give alerts if she falls and doesn't continue to move, or if she has a heart attack or something along those lines. There's a whole layered approach to people getting notifications off of their pacemaker. And it's everything from an app that you get with the actual device. that the healthcare provider can monitor. It's also you can set up alerts to family members, which I would be blown away if they didn't have that set up. And who would that likely be? Who lives closest? Which one of the siblings lives closest to the mom? Is it Annie? the sister?
Annie, for sure. Yeah, Annie.
All
She
right.
lives right down this 10 minutes away.
All right. So why were they not notified? Why was Annie not notified, or was she notified? I don't know. And she missed it, or who knows what. But why was Annie not notified? Or why did she not ring the bell until afternoon the following day, if in fact she was notified?
So you're saying you're surprised that she didn't have it set up on her phone, that if something went weird with the pacemaker, that it wouldn't have alerted her too? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it should have alerted her. I mean, what good would it do to alert Savannah, living in New York?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I would have 2 or 3 of us on there if it were my mom.
Yeah, it's a good point. We also learned that when she went over to the house for dinner on Saturday night, she Ubered there, which was a new detail, and then was driven home by, there's been conflicting reporting if it was by Annie or by the husband or by both of them.
It
Something
seems weird
else
that they haven't even mentioned the brother-in-law in anything. I mean,
Right.
just the fact that he's not mentioned at all, to me, is very interesting.
Well, and the question came up at the press conference, and they said there are no suspects, there are no persons of interest, and then at one point the sheriff said something like, "Everybody's a suspect right now. We're looking at everybody." They didn't want to single anybody out, which I can understand. Obviously, I mean, is it possible that they've got 3 or 4 theories that they're working, and that they don't know which one is the best one yet?
It's absolutely probable. You're going to have you're going to have investigators on your squad that are really tied in. Like I'm tied into what I believe happened, but I'm not going to go there yet. And then I talked to about, I want to say 10 of my former colleagues before, a couple of them who worked multiple kidnappings. And some of them agree with me, some of them don't. And we've gone over all the reasons why. I just got a text from one of those people who said, I think you have me convinced right now. So we're going through the motions, and it's just like being in the squad bay. So in the squad bay, we all have these different theories, and we have to present our case to each other. We don't have to, but we do. It's what we do. It's our culture. And our friends try to shred us, almost like you're on the stand. Well, I would agree with this, but not with that. And just how sometimes people talk on here. Like you saw that between Jeff and I the other day. You saw that and when you're spirited and you have big personalities and people are smart, it can get dicey and you have to have thick skin, but that's the way it is. There was the other things that really got me thinking while I was watching that presser was there were things on that timeline before that have now been removed from the timeline. That to me is a very important data point.
Like what?
Like before.
And this is interesting here. So things that were removed from the timeline, let's see what they were.
But didn't they have the exact time that the family members, quote unquote, air quotes, I mean, that the family members dropped off Nancy at the house at like 9:35 or something?
Well, let me pull up the timeline. So maybe what they had today was that Nancy travels to local family's home at 5:32, which would have been the Uber. And then 9:48, family drops off Nancy at home and garage door opens. I think they could actually, I guess it must be like a smart garage door. So 9:48, they know that the family dropped Nancy off and the garage door opened. And then at 9:50, the garage door closed. Is that different than something we had before?
I'm thinking of the timeline that they had with the little squares and those little square bubbles. So I don't think I took a photo of it because I was on the run when that happened. But I thought that was different.
Yeah, it could be. The thing that got me on this new timeline is on Sunday morning, 2:12, software detects person on camera, but no video available. So there was like a Google, some kind of Google camera that detected a person on the camera, but then there's no video. Which because there were, I guess, no subscription, so maybe they didn't pay to have the video stored on a cloud. I think
What did I tell you? What did I tell you about people getting their cameras and then not having subscriptions, not paying for the service?
And that's obnoxious, right? You can get a camera, and then since you don't have a subscription, it doesn't even work. That's obnoxious, but that's where a younger person needs to help an 84-year-old woman not have that problem. Like, okay, mom, grandmom, whatever you are, yeah, it's not going to work unless you have a subscription. The elderly don't always know that. And honestly, the company, so Nest in this case, they should be telling them that.
Not getting alerts on their phone. What they probably got was a text saying person identified or whatever. Now, if you don't have a subscription, it will usually film it, but it won't last. You can go right in right afterwards and download it if you wanted, but if you don't do that, it goes away.
Okay.
So
that's
everybody get their
why
subscriptions up and running.
it's worth paying the $10 a year or whatever it is then they would have had video, it sounds like. I asked, you were texting me during the
Ask
press.
yourself who would know that.
I asked you, you were like, ask them about if there was any cleanup.
And that wasn't a throwaway line there by Maureen. Who would know that she doesn't have the subscription? Family? Anne? Tommaso? Maybe?
Up inside the house, and I asked, and he wouldn't say what they found inside the house, but he did confirm that the blood on the front step did DNA. They tested and it did trace back to
Nancy.
Nancy. Yeah.
Yeah. My guess is if there's blood outside, there's gonna be blood inside. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
If we think about motive, like, let's just talk for a second about what motives could there be? Money, because it's always about the Benjamins, right?
Very important question here by Maureen. So money's one. I'm trying to think what else could even be a motive. Is it a possibility of revenge for some other thing? Let's see what she says.
99 times out of 100. Sex. I pray to God that's off the table. Or what are the common motives?
Yeah, I mean, money would come to mind for me. You know, I guess like an anger, a vendetta, like someone pissed you off so bad that you want to kill them.
Yep. Or maybe some kind of love triangle, you know?
Yeah, right. Love. Yep.
I don't think that's what we're looking at either. So we're down to pretty much, hopefully, just money.
Well, when you think about money, the question came up to the FBI today. Is this connected back to Savannah Guthrie being a someone's just come to the house? Is this connected back to Savannah Guthrie being a celebrity? And the FBI said, no, we have no evidence of that. But then why would this person randomly kidnap an 84-year-old woman and then ask for a ransom? Like, if it's not, a woman connected to a really rich person. I didn't.
If those two events are connected, is the ransom letter really connected to this incident?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it's certainly not a sure thing that it is, right? So if it's not, and again, those other videos they did, Savannah and whoever else, the siblings and the brother, they were talking like those ransom notes were not legit. So they're talking to someone else that might still be out there, or definitely is still out there.
always the question we have when we have these kidnap situations. We always expect a flurry of activity. Now, the Bureau put out a $50,000 ransom today, and that's going to create a purge of information. I mean, people are going to be calling, texting, all the tips and leads are going to be going in the FBI's website, the sheriff's website. Everything's going to blow up. So before they do that, they have to backfill these systems with analysts and law enforcement officers to go through these calls. in these tips and leads.
And the billboards too. The FBI is going to do billboards in Arizona and surrounding states. Would they ever go to that length to try to throw someone off who they already are zeroing in on?
I would, if it were my case.
You would.
Yeah, but I'm an out of the box thinker.
But I mean, when you were there, would they do? Would that be? Again, I just go back to the family. Are you putting them through the ringer by doing that? I mean, making them think that it's real. You
Or
know,
are you
nothing.
keeping them busy while they're waiting for their family member? I mean, is it mean or is it? I mean, you got to go through a lot of these motions, no matter what our thoughts are. We don't do. We don't make major decisions just on our gut. We listen to our gut and we trust our gut to a certain extent, but we have to follow things up with evidence. We have to go wherever the evidence leads us.
Yeah.
And that's,
Do you think we're going to see a conclusion to this soon? Or do you think what's your gut tell you? Do you think this is going to drag on for a while?
I thought it would be over by today. So we've got this deadline tonight at 5, which is, what time is it now?
Yeah, so that deadline came and went. Nothing happened.
4?
Yeah, when we're doing this, we're 15 minutes from the deadline from when.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, Monday by 5, we should know something.
It's been reported that the sheriff found out about the Instagram video, but his wife saw it. I mean, he wasn't in the loop, apparently. Do you think the FBI is now just sort of taking over this whole thing? Because that's what it seems like to me.
No, I think they're definitely a team. I think a lot of the people that work for this sheriff are 100% in the loop. I find it absolutely shocking that he did not know, since you knew. You saw them walk in with that ring light. You saw them walk in, 2 agents or whoever, the ICAC team, I guess. So that to me is very strange. Maybe they sent him an email and he's been getting so many emails it got lost in there. But he should be getting briefing. Whenever you do any type of an investigation like this, you have a whole command center, and in the command center, you make up the mind at the beginning of the case. You say every 12 hours or every 4 hours or every 6 hours, we're going to do an internal briefing where we talk about everything that's happening and the course of action that we're about to take. And in each of those instances, for every, let's say from the beginning, the sheriff gives it to his captain or his lieutenant to run the whole thing, right? So that captain is the on-scene commander. That on-scene commander remains that way until he turns the baton over to the next person for the night shift, or what if they're doing 3 shifts, I don't know, probably just 2. And then, but the chief should be getting a briefing every 24 hours at the very least in a case like this. I would guess it would be more like every 6 hours, or getting emails to keep him apprised of what's happening. For him not to know this, I just can't imagine. I don't know how that could have fallen through the cracks. I don't know. I mean, do his guys not like him? Or maybe he's one of those bosses like Jeff and I were talking about, that they're, I don't know. I don't think he's very organized. He doesn't appear to me to be very, very organized. And I'm always sticking up for the law enforcement, but that guy, I don't understand what's going on with that guy.
As always, I really appreciate Maureen for talking with me. I think I pretty much covered all the major updates from today at the press conference. We'll see what pans out over the next couple of days. I mean, there was obviously the deadline, the alleged deadline that passed today at 5 p.m., but there's apparently another deadline on Monday. And that's if these ransom letters are even really legit. We still don't really know, but the FBI seems to be keeping an open mind about everything. So appreciate you guys for watching. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here really just indefinitely to see how this whole thing works itself out. And I hope it does work itself out, because I know everybody following, including me, just wants to see Nancy Guthrie come home safely and be reunited with her family. So I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, thanks so much for.
All right, so I got one more video to watch. We'll see what Tony Bruschi has to say about the matter. Freaking obnoxious.
Right now, as of this, is heartbreaking, is tragic, is crazy, has so many questions, has reporting that's over here, has reporting that's over there, has the family in the middle, has so many elements that are making everyone's head spin as we still don't know much of anything right now, as of this recording. That's what happens in cases like this. When you don't know, when there's a abundance of nothing, a lack of information, you get chaos. You get everybody trying to fill in the blanks where we don't necessarily know what exactly should be going in those blanks. So in the fog of war, in the fog of chaos, we're going to do our best to deliver to you here the latest on what we know, perspectives on the...
So Tony Bruschi isn't necessarily on the front lines, but what you will get with him is a little bit of an editorial / more editorial opinion on what's going on as well. And generally more of a prosecutor's lens too.
various reporting that's been going on. But at the end of the day, be the first to tell you, we don't know. Nobody does at this moment in time. All we know is that we want Nancy Guthrie to be returned alive, well, by whoever has her. She's an 84-year-old woman that disappeared from her home. And this isn't one of those cases where someone just wanders off in the night because they're old and confused. It's not on a hiking trail. It's not confusion or dementia or a misturn. Because when investigators arrived at Nancy Guthrie's home, they didn't find an empty house. They found blood. And then strangely, they walked away. There's so many weird things going on here. And weird doesn't necessarily mean nefarious either. It could just mean we're not used to investigations like this, and some of the things we end up doing may be looked back upon as incompetent.
That's kind of what I said before too, right? Where they weren't expecting this. This seems like a sleepy town over there. And here they are. They got a nationwide story, a mystery where there's a missing persons, not a homicide yet, but there's a lot of people thinking that.
Or maybe there's a reason and a method to the madness. I don't know. Some of it just seems like bad police work. I could be wrong, though. I don't know. When you leave a crime scene and then it's close enough where Brian Enton can show up on the front door, or his photographer can, and literally walk up to the blood, walk in the blood if they wanted to. They didn't. I'm not saying they did, but I'm saying the fact that a human being other than a police officer was able to get that close to the crime scene, but you released it, so now it's okay, but now you're back.
I was saying this too, right? That seems like a little bit of indecisiveness, incompetence to let it be not a crime scene and then tape it back up as a crime scene. I don't know. I think they're just not mentally prepared for this. I don't know how competent they are, but I think this kind of blindsided them and they're kind of learning as they go.
I don't know. There's a lot.
Because let's face it also, how many cases like this do you get with an 84-year-old woman? It's much more likely that a kid gets abducted, usually by the other parent. That's usually what happens, right? But not always. That is way more common than something like this.
There's a lot that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why? I don't know. And it could be simply that. Just bad calls being made. I don't know. We're going to go through what we know here. Give me your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube, if that's where you're watching us, or on our Substack. The link to our Substack is in the descriptions. It's free to join right now. There's no paywall. You'll get all of our reporting as we do it, usually a day in advance. We're releasing like pretty much the moment we make it because it's such an active story. But your thoughts, please weigh in. I'd love to get them because I mean, that's really everything we have right now is everybody's thoughts, opinions, everything. I don't know if we're all sitting here waiting for that information, that's something to come in and go, that's it. That's what. I think in the back of our minds, that's what everybody feels they want in a situation like this where we don't have answers. But it's not an idea that's going to get us there. It's going to be solid information. It's going to be evidence. It's going to be something from whoever has her making themselves known, if in fact they're out there. And we don't even know if the people who have made themselves known, if they're the people who actually have Nancy Guthrie at this moment in time. So let's get back to the crime scene. They found blood. And then they walked away. And then they came back. The contradiction is where this story begins for me anyway, because nothing about what has happened since fits the pattern people expect when they hear the words missing elderly woman. This was never a put her picture on a flyer and hope for the best case. From the very beginning, law enforcement treated this as something else entirely, and the evidence left behind tells us why. Nancy Guthrie is an 84-year-old woman. She's a mother, a grandmother, a woman with deep routines and deep roots. She attends church. She lives with chronic pain. She relies on medication. She is not someone who walks off quietly into the night. She is not someone who disappears without leaving ripples. And what investigators found at her home were not ripples. They were disturbances. Blood at the entry area. Blood reported inside the home. A scene that immediately shifted from missing to taken. This was not law enforcement hedging. This was not media exaggerating. The house was treated as a crime scene for a reason. And then roughly 30 hours later, the crime scene was released.
Yeah, it's just a preemptive releasing of that first crime scene. It should have never happened. That was preemptive, if not careless.
And this is where I feel it's probably a grave mistake. You don't release a crime scene with an active investigation. Like, it's not like you found her and that's like, oh, you can go back home now. The scene, like I said, reporters were able to go right up, literally. If you wanted to, you could have scraped the blood up and taken it back to the studio. No one should be close enough to a crime scene with that is this close to of when it took place, still active in terms of the crime itself, and a reporter is up there literally that, and I'm not faulting Brian, he's a great reporter or anything of that nature. I'm saying it's insane that they were allowed to get that close, that the scene was released the way it was. You don't know that you have everything in 1 or 2 days. Damn,
Correct. And this is not Brian Etten's fault. It is the law enforcement's fault for even putting people in that position.
If you watch Dateline once in your life, maybe, you just watch it when you might go and learn the tips of don't release the crime scene that quickly. You never know what you don't know. And in an active crime scene around a house, there's a lot you don't know. And a lot that's going to get contaminated if you start letting people traipse around the place. I don't know. Police 101 from a fucking podcaster in Arkansas. Am I crazy?
I didn't know that's where he was. Arkansas.
I don't know, that to me is just been like, what? Why is Brian walking around right there? I mean, thank God he's there covering it. You got a great reporter on this, but this shouldn't be a story where we're already sitting here going and looking at the investigation saying, you did what? Here we are again. So that decision raised some eyebrows because releasing the scene doesn't mean nothing happened. It means investigators believed at that moment they had everything they needed. It means they thought the answers were somewhere else now. And then something changed because suddenly, without warning, the activity returned. Crime scene tape went back up. Multiple agencies showed up. Canines arrived. Grid searches resumed. Officers moved in and out of the house and attended narrow, particularly around attention was put particularly around the garage, I should say. Was because everybody started going, why was this? Oh, we better make it look like we're there. I mean, did somebody like go to lunch and then like, oh shit, reporters got on the property? What's the story? What the hell is happening here? The stop-start rhythm is not normal. Quiet surge, yet quiet surge. You don't reopen a scene unless something new pulls you back or you failed the first time around. A new tip, a new data point, a contradiction in someone's story, a digital hit, something that changed the map. Law enforcement hasn't told us what it was, but they don't need to because behavior tells its own story. At the same time, this renewed activity has been unfolding. Another moment landed with force, the force of a punch. The public plea from Nancy's children. Savannah Guthrie, along with her siblings, released a video that was almost painful to watch. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was restrained, because it was careful, because every word mattered. They talked about who their mother is, about her kindness, her strength, her faith, her joy. They talked about her grandchildren, about how deeply she is loved. And then they did something very specific. They addressed whoever may have Nancy directly. They said they were ready to talk. But they asked for one thing first, proof of life. That phrase is not emotional, that is procedural. You don't ask for proof of life unless you're not sure who you're dealing with. You don't ask for proof of life unless you're concerned about manipulation, about hoaxes, about scams, about false narratives being injected into this situation. And in 2026, that concern is not paranoia. It is realism because, yes, there have been reports of ransom communications, reports that some media outlets received messages referencing cryptocurrency, messages claiming knowledge of the crime scene, messages describing what Nancy may have been wearing. Law enforcement has acknowledged they are aware of those reports. They have not confirmed the authenticity of any of them. And that matters because if this were a straightforward kidnapping for ransom, the timeline would look very different. Real extortion doesn't wait days to establish leverage, especially not when the victim is elderly, medication dependent, and
so that leaves the question, if it's not real extortion, then what is it? Then what's the motive? What's left? Revenge? What else?
Fragile. Real kidnappers want to control early. They want pressure. They want certainty. This situation has none of it. I'm not saying it can't be that. I'm saying this situation has none of that. Could you have a kidnapper that's playing off a different script? Sure. It opens a lot of possibilities here, and none of them are comforting. One, the ransom communications are real, but disorganized, amateur, or intentionally delayed. Two, they're scams, opportunists insecting themselves into a tragedy. Or three, they are deliberate misdirection, noise meant to obscure something else. Investigators are not saying which lane they believe this is in. And they shouldn't, because once you tip your hand publicly, you lose leverage privately. This is where frustration sets in for the public, because people hear law enforcement say no suspect, and they assume that means no focus, no direction, no theory. That's not how investigations work. So just know that the public-facing word of no suspect does not mean no scrutiny. It means no one has been publicly named. It means investigators are protecting the integrity of interviews. It means they are keeping people.
And one person I'd be curious what they think of this case, Mike King. Now, Mike King doesn't usually throw his hat in the water there, or his hat in the ring, to have an opinion before more is known. But considering his background, I'd be curious what he thinks of this.
Talking instead of lawyering up. It means they are preserving flexibility. We have seen this posture before, cases where law enforcement publicly said no suspect while privately narrowing the field. That's not deception. It's strategy. What matters is not what they are saying to microphones. What matters is what they are doing on the ground. And what they're doing tells us this is a very active, evolving investigation. They didn't just walk away from Nancy Guthrie's home and forget about it, although it appears there may be an element of that. Not on the big picture, but in the don't let reporters get that close to blood sort of way. Like, are you all over here doing this? Well, yeah, this is going to be important too. You may need to go back to the scene. There may be information here you got to get at some point in time. I don't know why anyone has to explain this basic element of the investigation. I mean, if you're doing, I can't explain it. I'm going to stop trying. If you can any investigator out there look at this and go and explain to me why it was a good thing that reporters were able to literally walk up to Nancy Guthrie's door within 48 hours or so of all of this going down and film and be there? I mean, just being there, walking around, getting your prints, basically contaminating the scene. Again, I am not trying to insult, or I'm not saying anything bad about the reporting that was done. The doors were open to it. No, the scene was not secure, and when you don't have a secured scene, when you have no one saying, okay, we can't go over here. If you're reporting, you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to go as close to the story as you can. That's your job. And you're going to trust that the people that are securing that scene have secured it the way that they feel comfortable securing it. It's unfortunate that in so many cases, we end up looking back and we see this all too often, where the scene is released, it's not secured, people are able to get in and out, and then it's like, oh, whoops, maybe we should. It's so elementary. At least to the general public, it is. I don't know. I don't know why this keeps being a problem in cases. I just don't get it.
So, Veronica, no one asked for $50,000. $50,000 is a reward that the FBI offered for anyone who knows anything about the case.
Federal involvement has increased as well, not just generic support, but specialized units skilled in digital forensics and communications tracing and kidnapping dynamics and understanding how modern extortion attempts actually work. It doesn't happen unless the stakes are high, and the stakes are high. Because Nancy Guthrie is not just missing, she's vulnerable. She's without her medication. She lives in constant pain. Every hour that passes is not just misery, it's risk. She's 84. And when the internet spins theories and names names and demands instant answers, the reality is much quieter and much harder. A family is waiting, a house is silent, and somewhere, someone knows exactly what happened inside that home. Someone knows why the scene was released and why it was reopened. Someone knows why the focus shifted back to the garage. Someone knows whether the messages being sent out are real or cruel distractions. And until that person is confronted with evidence they cannot outrun, we're kind of stuck in this suspended, awful space between fear and hope. This isn't for entertainment. This isn't speculation fodder. This is not a puzzle box for armchair detectives. This is an 84-year-old woman whose children are begging, not for money, not for revenge, not for answers, but for proof that their mother is still alive. Where is Nancy Guthrie? Will she be found alive? What is going to happen next?
I mean, here's the thing. Every passing day, the chances that she comes back alive become smaller and smaller. Look back to the Elizabeth Smart case. It's actually a miracle she was gone for 9 months and survived. That's insane. But she was also a teen at the time. This is an 84-year-old woman that doesn't have essential medicine. Every passing day, not a good sign.
There's a lot of information out there. I'm not going to go through every single piece of random reporting that everyone has been saying because there's so much. Some is founded, some is unfounded, some is rumor, some is this, some is that. It's been pushed back this way and that way on everything. But I'm curious with as open of a canvas as we're sitting at right now with information as to what your thoughts are. That's what I'm going to leave this piece with here. Not maybe it's this person, not maybe it's that person. What the hell do you think's happening here? What is going on in this case?
So someone in the chat said there's rumors that medicine is missing from the home. And if so, is that medicine the medicine that Nancy needs? That would be an interesting twist if true. I'm not saying that is true. It's just a rumor.
Give me your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube or on our Substack. We're going to keep digging. We're going to start talking about more specific angles of this, but it is such a fog of war chaos moment that we are still in here. It is, honest to God, difficult to know what lane to go down. Because these are people. These are lives. This is someone's mother. This is daughters, brothers, sons, grandchildren, living a horrific nightmare. And God knows what is going on to Nancy, or has gone on. Your thoughts in the comments section. We'll continue our conversation there. Until then, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more?
All right. That's the end of Tony. And the last thing to check here to see if Ashley Banfield has anything else to say for herself. No, she doesn't. Her last thing is 23 hours ago. Interesting. 2 million views, that one. Holy mackerel. But all right, so to reiterate here what we went over in this video, Maureen, what she didn't say about Anne, I think is extremely telling. So Maureen seems to think that Savannah is on the level, and so is her brother. But Anne, what she didn't say speaks volumes there. There's a lot of people think those ransom notes are fake, which means the people that really have her, they haven't reached out yet. And again, I'm having a hard time with the motive here if it's not for money. What else would it possibly be? That's what I'm curious about. If people have any ideas or theories in the chat, let me know. But I don't know what they would be. What would they be at this point? I mean, if you're a serial killer, you do this because that gets you off. Like that's what your drug is. You're like a vampire that needs to kill. But is that what's going on here? I don't think so. I don't think that's what's going on here. The money motive seems to make sense to me. Other people throwing around Epstein stuff. She interviewed victims. I couldn't get a confirmation of when that date might have happened, if so. But I really don't know. An insurance jolly would be money, right? That's what it is. Insurance would be money. So I'm a little baffled by this one so far, as I think many of the people that we watch are too. Maureen, Brian Etten, Tony, Law and Crime Network, all of them. No one really knows. But I do think they're going to find something soon. Because if they truly want money, they're going to want to, the family's going to want to see proof of life. That's got to be number one. You're not even going to do anything. You wouldn't dream of sending money unless there's proof of life. So without that, they have nothing, right? So, but imagine if she's gone already, what the hell are these people going to do? Go make a run for it to Mexico? I just have no idea. Right, money, inheritance. Money is money, of course. That's why I think if it's not money, I don't know what it would be. But I think it's money. I think it's got to be money related. Because what enemies would Savannah have? If she truly did interview Epstein victims, I mean, there's plenty of people that have interviewed Epstein victims. So does that put all of them in danger? I don't know. I can't tell you. So money. So yeah, if you think it's money, put a 1 in the chat. If you think it's revenge, put a 2 in the chat. If you think it's Epstein related, put a 3 in the chat. How about that? But I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. Yeah, she's not going to make it too long without meds, that's for sure. I think 4, none of the above. Yeah, 1 or 2. Yeah, so money or revenge for the most part. The pretend judge, what's shaken? What's number 4? Did I give you a 4? Personal. And who would be the personal? Would it be siblings that are angry that Savannah is a favorite child? Maybe they're envious of her success. It's a possibility. I think the fake ransom notes, if they're indeed fake, they're people trying to exploit the situation. And they might actually have the best chance of succeeding in their operation. Because once they send Bitcoin to an address, but again, they're not going to send Bitcoin to an address unless there's some kind of proof of life. They're just not going to do it. Criminal network. 5. Just her money. I mean, that's a fancy house that she lives in there too. I mean, it's got to be worth over $1 million, right? In the lowlands of Arizona with the mountains in the distance, with peyote and the cactus. Holy mackerel. Yes, we do, Bella. But I think this is what? Today is Wednesday. Or no, it's been Thursday, and tomorrow's Friday, February 6th. I think we're going to find something out tomorrow or the next day. Maureen thought we were going to find something out today, and I totally understand why she felt that way. Savannah bought that house. Maybe she bought her sister a house too. That's possible, Song Bits. I really don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if those ransom notes are a distraction. I would not be surprised one bit. That would be terrible, Mr. Dietz, but stranger things have happened. Children do kill their parents sometimes. That's a thing. But again, I would think also, do you just kill your parents for what? Are you not a Menendez brothers, right? That could at least be understandable if you believe their story. They're getting SA'd their entire life and their mother doesn't believe them. Okay. But outside of that, why do it? There's another serial killer that killed his mother, and when he was asked why he did it, he said, "I just couldn't take all the hate." And Christine Ann Lawson, she wrote a book, Understanding the Borderline Mother, and she inferred, I think the guy's name was Edward Kemper, that he killed his mother. His mother had borderline, and she was just out of control. Yeah, humans do some strange things, and that's why they say fact can be stranger than fiction. Jelly Roll did it. Did Savannah buy both homes, Nancy's and Annie's? I don't know the answer to that question. We got to do some digging on Savannah and what could possibly be. And as a face reader, I look at Nancy's face. I don't really see any toxicity in her face from what I can see. I don't think, oh my goodness, it's like a narcissistic mother. No, that doesn't even cross my mind with her. Other cases, I wouldn't say that. Other cases, it might be. But I don't think this one. I don't think this one. Hello there, Candy. Peanut butter and jelly roll. Savannah was the only person in that family with money. Siblings don't buy each other's homes. Generally not, but it depends how much money you have. If you have a lot of money, you take care of your family. I don't know what kind of money Savannah's making. She's probably worth tens of millions though, right? Probably making a few mil at least. Tina says, I'm ADHDing extra today. Losing things, finding other things. Gave up looking for... Ashwagandha might help with that, Tina. And GABA. Hey, I'm open to listening to the tarot readers and the psychics. You never know. Someone said that a psychic said that she's by the water somewhere. I'm not completely ruling it out. I'm open-minded when it comes to that kind of thing. I don't swear by it, but I'm open-minded to it. How about that? Well, but anyway, that is really it for the night here. I don't really have anything else to go over. There's nothing new to go over until maybe tomorrow. Pretty sure the Guthrie siblings grew up in that home. Is that so? If that's the case, then it would mean that her parents were pretty well off. That's the way to be, miss. Open but honest. Oh, Danielle, by the water. So there's another vote for by the water. Her tarot card said so. Thank you very much for this, Eva. You are the best. I appreciate you. And if you're still here, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Invite a friend in here too. Oh, you know friends? You have your friends that like true crime and like participating in a live chat. You can say, hey, we got a great flock of black sheep here. There's a pretty cool shepherd of black sheep that goes over true crime stuff, current events, sometimes even politics. And he brings his knowledge about narcissism, toxic relationships, coercive control, trauma bonds, mental health, and addiction to everything that he does. So invite a friend. I would not be surprised one bit, forget me, if Tommaso and Annie know. 8 million. Yeah, she's killing it then. There's no, you're not hurting for money with 8 million bucks. You're a black sheep, but don't date. Oh my goodness. You're very welcome, Jolly. I take ashwagandha every day, Tina. It helps your blood sugar. It helps your cortisol, but also can help you focus. Now, some people say, oh, you shouldn't take ashwagandha. It can give you anhedonia. I don't know if I buy that. You got it, Nam. That could be very well be, Mr. Dietz. Ashwagandha is a herb. It's a herb for anxiety and depression. I mean, it makes you think. What can you learn from the case? I would say, depending on your mother or grandmother, Maybe they shouldn't always live alone. It just depends, though. I mean, every 84-year-old woman's going to be a little bit different. Some are going to be in pretty good shape. Others, not so much. Others don't even make it out of their 70s. Tina, or Tim, not Tina, Tim. Did it hot tamales? Did you take a lot of it or only some? Or how long did you take it for? What was your dose? That's a good one, Song Bits. Thank you for mentioning that. Make sure you get a subscription for your Nest cameras, or if your Ring camera is that needed for that too, definitely do that. We don't know yet, Onery. We don't know yet. So if you could let us know about the ashwagandha dose, that'd be good. It's always good to see what could happen to some people. I guess maybe her liver numbers were off. I don't know if it does, Danielle. Definitely Google it. Everyone should do their own research. But all right, everybody. It's about time to rock and roll here. Thank you, everyone, for joining me and all the comments. We got a great community here. It's good to see this community be built up. So if everyone in the chat can do me a favor, if you have friends that like this kind of stuff, invite them over the next time there's a live stream, which will be tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Give or take. I'm also late a lot too. But thank you, everyone, for participating in the likes, super chats, etc. And I'll be back again tomorrow night. Thank you, the Bryson. I appreciate all the subscriptions and the likes, super chats, all of it. And if you like it to hear even more, you can do a membership. I'll probably do some members-only live streams like Ashley Banfield does too. But anyway, have a great rest of your night, everyone. You got it, Ms. I don't exist in my state. You're funny. Have a good night, everybody.